across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. You better stay tuned. Anything could happen in the next 3 hours. Good afternoon and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. I'm your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you for 3 powerhouse hours of news, views and topical debate. Get involved, get stuck in, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Wednesday, May the 13th. Here's what's coming up. As West Streeting finally plucks up the courage to challenge Starmer's stupefying leadership, the zombie Prime Minister sends the seething sovereign to deliver a King's speech full of everything the great British public voted against when they overwhelmingly rejected Labour at the local elections last Thursday. Charles let it be known that he did not appreciate being used as a political firebreak to take the pressure off two-tier Keir, if only for a day. But at the state opening of Parliament, where they all dress up like toy soldiers, bang doors and perform baffling rituals we're supposed to cherish as great traditions, the King, of course, did his regal duty and ploughed through Starmer's hated policies like a man bored to tears while reading the telephone directory. Digital IDs were confirmed and we all look forward to those thrilling closer ties to the EU, don't we? And there'll be a bill enabling Parliament to strip wrong-uns of their peerages. Mr. Mandelson won't like that. So now it's official. We are in the grip of a gormless government pledging to defy the people's wishes to please the know-nothing left-wing backbench Labour MPs who control their dead man walking leader. Isn't that special? 03444991000. In other news, 11 major unions call for Starmer to go as Labour's working class support disintegrates. Donald Trump reveals exactly what Keir is doing wrong, which is pretty much everything. And finally, Israel is through to the Eurovision finals despite 5 nations dropping out to protest about Gaza. Here's to brave Jewish singer Noam Betam, who staged his immaculate performance in the face of crazed jeering by pro-Palestine fanatics. Israel came second last year. Let's hope they go one better in Austria on Saturday. Obviously, it goes without saying that England doesn't stand a chance. We'll come last, as always, as is the tradition. 0344 499 1000. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Wednesday afternoon together. Lots to talk about today. Obviously, big day with the King's speech. Let's go straight over to Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel. Before we get to the speech, we need to talk about what happened as the King was making his way to Parliament in his gilded carriage. I won't describe it. We'll just take a look at it. This is shocking, disgusting, and frankly, increasingly typical of Britain today. Watch this.
To the King Charles.
Isabel, what is happening to this country?
I really found that hard to listen to, not least because it's so piercing, you know, the shrieking that was going on there, but also it's yet again that slogan which is calling for the elimination of Jews from the river to the sea. We know that's actually illegal to chant. And yet that was the way the monarch was greeted by the so-called British people. How many of those people that were in that mob, I don't know how many of them were recent arrivals to the UK or how many of them were ridiculously entitled, ignorant, and incredibly rude and badly mannered British citizens, young students or whatever it was they were. But it was a shameful spectacle. It really was. And such, I just hope that those images don't go around the world, because people will wonder, what on earth has happened to Great Britain? Why? When the king is opening the great British Parliament, the mother of all parliaments, setting out the legislative agenda for the UK, is there a baying, shrieking mob spewing poison outside our parliament against Jews? It's extraordinary.
It really is. Let me ask the audience, get on the phone, folks, 03444991000. What is going wrong with this country? Why do we witness scenes like that? How have we come to this? Let me know what you think. As I say, 03444991000. Shocking, shocking scenes leading up, of course, to the king arriving at Parliament and delivering Keir Starmer's speech. So the king let it be known yesterday that he was furious. I mean, this is very unusual, but the palace let it be known that the king had inquired whether or not it was right for him to deliver the king's speech today, to participate in the opening of Parliament, because of Keir Starmer's domestic problems with Labour's disintegrating government and his own tenuous position. He was informed that the Prime Minister did require him at the Houses of Parliament, and of course he did his regal duties. But it just shows how fraught this situation is, that the King is asking the Prime Minister, are you sure you want me to do this? And the reason the King's asking is because the King knows he's delivering the zombie King's speech of a zombie Prime Minister. Everything he said hopefully won't come about. Extraordinary.
It really was. And under the circumstances, the choreography went fine. You know, the king did absolutely everything he was supposed to do. It all looked beautiful. You know, the pageantry was there, this thing that we in Britain are still very good at. It looked incredible. It was, I have to say, it felt quite a short King's speech. And there were no sort of ugly interruptions. There was this very funny moment when, as part of the ceremonial proceedings, there's this sort of symbolic knocking of the door.
Yeah, that bit. Dong, dong, Black Rod, yeah.
Black Rod, exactly.
Meanwhile, by the way, these are weird traditions. I'm not, you know, people say, oh, it's marvellous, British tradition. I don't know. I mean, OK, if you want to all dress up like toy soldiers and go through these silly rituals, knock yourself out. They even have to have an MP at Buckingham Palace who is technically held hostage while the monarch addresses his MP. So it's all very weird, all very British. But, you know, if people enjoy that pomp and ceremony, that's fine. Before we get, though, to the details of the King's speech, and by the way, the King looked so bored. He looked like he was reciting the telephone directory. In fact, the telephone directory would have been more interesting and certainly less annoying. But before we get to that, West Streeting's behaviour today, strange. He went for this meeting with the Prime Minister this morning, which was over in 10 minutes flat. He left with a face like thunder, with a face like death, and the speculation is that he will resign tomorrow, but was not seen on the front bench today during PMQs. So there is some thought that he might already have quit and will be set to launch his leadership challenge tomorrow.
That's right. So he, this was not PMQs, it was just part of the ceremonial proceedings.
So sorry to interrupt, I was just going to say, for people who are listening on the radio, we're looking at Keir, so there's all the front benches. Keir Starmer is standing up, leaning against, sorry, it's Keir Starmer. West Streeting is standing up, leaning against the wood next to the Speaker's chair, and pointedly not on the front bench. If you're listening, if you're watching, we've circled him for you. So, yeah, geographically interesting.
So there was room on the front bench, and he could easily have been sitting there. And I had from one source, a well-placed source, but not double-sourced in any way, that effectively he's already quit. Now, Downing Street this afternoon, bizarrely, said Keir Starmer has full confidence in Wes Streeting as Health Secretary, which again is a completely odd thing to say, because we all know that he's either already quit or is about to quit. I suppose that confidence doesn't have to be in equal measure. So maybe Keir Starmer has confidence in Wes Streeting, and Wes Streeting very definitely doesn't have confidence in Keir Starmer. Bottom line, it's on, it's happening, it's all going to kick off tomorrow, if not tonight. Now the King's speech is out of the way. What I was going to say, Kev, earlier, after Black Rod knocked at the door, someone shouted out, "Not now, Andy," as if it was Andy Burnham at the door. It was actually kind of funny.
That is very funny. I'm not sure that's a correct decorum, but that is very funny. We need to get onto the policies in just a little while, because basically this King's speech was full of the policies that the British people roundly rejected last week, which is it's a really bizarre spectacle. But in terms of this leadership challenge that we think Wes Streeting is going to try to launch tomorrow, doesn't he need 81 specific supporters in order to launch this challenge?
I think that's right, but I don't think that he would have, well, he's obviously publicly not yet done it, but assuming that he is going to publicly resign and say that he's standing for the leadership, he must know that he's got the numbers. But sometimes things do go wrong. You know, it can be at the very last moment that a contestant or someone who's doing this thought that they had 81 or 80 or whatever they thought they were on, or only to discover that two people have stitched them up, you know, and never intended to support them at the last moment, but have told them falsely.
It happens, doesn't it? It happens a lot.
In order to screw them over, basically. So, you know, it's a very nervous and edgy thing. And he must be mindful that there could be a few bad actors amongst his supporters who might be deliberately trying to falsely lead him to throw his hat into the ring, only to withdraw their names at the last moment. And
when he does, if he does go for the challenge, if he has got the 81, do you think that will open the floodgates that other challengers might enter the fray? I think because all those left-wing backbench MPs, they won't like Wes Streeting because he's relatively moderate. And I suspect that if he throws his hat into the ring, I reckon Ed Miliband will. What do you think?
I agree. One thing you learn very early on as a political journalist is that almost all MPs want to be Prime Minister or think they could be Prime Minister, with a few exceptions. So no way is this going to go uncontested. You know, uncontested, either let's all crown Wes Streeting the successor, or let's it just be between Wes Streeting and Keir Starmer. That's not going to happen. I imagine there will be far more contenders than just the names that you and I have just talked about. Often you find in these situations there's about 8 people, and including some randoms, and it's all very sort of technical, and some people are planning to shift their supporters to someone else, knowing that they won't pass the first rounds and so on.
Indeed. Well, it's going to be a fascinating day tomorrow. Just very quickly, as I just said, this Prime Minister now, in the face of this round rejection by the furious British public last Thursday, they rejected him, they rejected Labour, they rejected his government, his policies, everything he stands for. And what was that King's speech full of? The policies the British people rejected. First up, let's take digital ID. Here's the King.
My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernise how citizens interact with public services.
Before I get you to comment on that, because we haven't got too much longer, this was the other tranche of the King's speech that I wanted to get your take on. This is, of course, the dreaded closer ties with the EU. Take it away, your Madge.
My ministers will introduce legislation to take advantage of new trading opportunities, including a bill to strengthen ties with the European Union.
So there you have it, Isabel. 2 policies that the British public have made very clear they detest, they do not want. We have a Prime Minister and a government who are going to go directly against the specific wishes of the British electorate. This is a bizarre spectacle.
It was so weird. I couldn't believe it when digital ID came up again.
Yeah.
You could almost hear, the sort of shades of Prince Philip when the king read that out. I felt like he was itching to say what a load of crap that is. I mean, I'm in favour of digital ID, but not run by the Labour Party or any Labour government. They said it will help how people interact with public services. I thought, no, it won't.
Yeah.
It'll help with how the state interferes with private citizens, and none of it will apply to any illegal immigrants, and it won't make a difference. Not the way they are going to do it.
A quick word on Europe. That's now this is going to be a bill. This is going to be an act of Parliament. Actually,
that is absolutely appalling, and reform, I am certain, would reverse it all. So is the EU really going to be listening when they know that there is got to be a decent chance of a reform government unravelling it all? I'm not so sure.
Isabel, great start to the show. Always good to have you on. Thank you very, very much. That is the brilliant Isabel Oakeshott, Talks International editor. Let me know what you think about that. These policies. Digital ID, do you want that? Well, it's just been in the King's speech. You're going to get it. Oh, you want to go closer to Europe? Great. That's in the King's speech. But that's what we don't want. That's what we voted against. We voted against digital ID. This guy is imposing on us measures that we do not want, that we rejected. It's extraordinary. It's just to please the left-wing MP backbenchers that control him. That's where we're at, folks. Next up, we're going to be joined by Jack Elson, the political editor of The Sun. That next, stay tuned.
Some breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain?
Yeah.
Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Jack Elson, political editor of The Sun, will join us in just a second. First, let's listen to a voice note. This one's from Johnny.
Just listening to that recording you had of pro-Palestinian morons shouting abuse at the King. Interesting to know how many of them got arrested. I suspect it weren't many. Great show as ever, mate. Keep it up.
Yeah, that's a good point, Johnny. I was about to say that to Isabel. I mean, it's about time, we heard it there. That's illegal. From the river to the sea is illegal. That is calling for the annihilation of Israel. It's calling for the death of Jews. It's illegal. It's against the law. It's a hate crime. Coppers, once again, they just let these pro-Palestine nutcases do this. When are they going to stop? When are they going to crack down? When are they going to enforce the law? 03444991000. He's ready. Let's go over to the Sun's political editor, Jack Elsom. Hi, Jack.
Hi, Kev. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Fantastic.
I can see
there
you
we go.
in all your glory. In all your
Fix
glory.
my technology problems.
Good to see you, mate. Well,
You too.
Before we get to the King's speech, there's speculation that West Streeting may already have resigned because pointedly at PMQs, all the Labour front benchers were in line on the bench. And he was there was plenty of room for him, but he was standing next to the Speaker's speech. West Streeting not joining his fellow cabinet secretaries. What are you hearing?
Well, for the time being, he definitely remains in post. I've just been in the House of Commons chamber where, you're right, at the start when they were going into the House of Lords, he wasn't actually on the front bench. He was hovering by the Speaker's chair. But in the latest session where the Prime Minister and Kemi Badenoch faced off, he was on the front bench. And I have to say, it was the most surreal half an hour I've ever been in the chamber in all my years covering Parliament, because you had the unedifying spectacle of Keir Starmer standing up. Wes Streeting sat with his colleagues with his arms folded. And it just looked incredibly awkward. And I mean, Kemi Badenoch, to her credit, needled away as best she could to make it even more uncomfortable for everyone involved. At one point, even shouted at Wes Streeting to do his job and get on with stuff in the health department rather than plotting. And she said, I don't know why he's giving me dirty looks. We all know what you've been up to, Mr. Streeting.
That's great.
So I would encourage people to go back and watch it. It really was a parliamentary session for the ages.
Well, we'll try. I know we're editing it now, so we'll hope to bring the audience some of Kemi's performance very soon. But are you expecting West Streeting to resign tomorrow and launch his leadership bid?
And that's certainly what his allies are saying. I mean, we understand that this meeting earlier on, which lasted only 16 minutes between the Prime Minister and Wes Streeting, ended with Wes Streeting telling him he was going to launch a leadership election as early as tomorrow. Wes Streeting's allies have been saying that they don't want to make any formal announcement today because they don't want to distract from the King's speech. And I just think, I'm sorry, Wes, we're way past that at this point, because no matter what you want, you are distracting from this King's speech. You know, we had a bizarre spectacle earlier of King Charles reading out the agenda of a government which might not even last the week. And so, you know, for everyone here in Westminster, we are now just waiting for tomorrow and whether or not West Streeting will pull the trigger. Now, Keir Starmer, number 10 earlier on, saying that actually at the moment they still have full confidence in West Streeting. That's interesting because I think that, you know, many people maybe expected Keir Starmer to make the first move and sack West Streeting to make him look a bit silly. But I think what Keir Starmer is trying to do is either talk West Streeting back from the brink of rebellion, or make Wes Streeting work for it, make him actually wield the knife. Because what number 10 was saying, and number 10 people were saying last night to me, was that, you know, they now regarded Wes Streeting as a bottler. They thought they had survived the moment of maximum danger where there was these ministers resigning, and then Wes Streeting could have launched the fatal strike, and he did not do that. Whether he will do it tomorrow, that's the question on everyone's lips currently.
If he does, Jack, you know, we have to get into this business of the technicalities. As I understand it, West Streeting personally needs 81 MPs to support his bid.
Yeah.
At that point, so let's just speculate that he does have that support. So then he lodges his official challenge. Would that open the floodgates? Would perhaps Ed Miliband throw his hat in the ring as well? Would you expect, if West Streeting does move tomorrow, would you expect others to enter the fray?
I mean, almost certainly the soft left of the Labour Party are not going to allow a Wes Streeting versus Keir Starmer runoff. They will put their own candidate forward, whether that is just one candidate, and Andy Burnham and Angela Rayner and Ed Miliband, or whether it is actually all three. Clearly, Burnham, we know he's in town. He rode down from Manchester yesterday. He has been looking for a seat. Number 10 also think he's a bit of a bluffer. He spent the past few weeks telling people he's got a seat lined up for him. At the moment, he hasn't revealed what that is. But yeah, you're certainly right, Kev, is that it would not just be Streeting versus Starmer, because they almost occupy the same wing of the party, sort of the centrist wing of the Labour Party, whereas there are people on the left who will definitely put forward their candidate. And so, yeah, it's not going to be easy for anyone involved. The specifics here of the timetable will be what everyone jockeys over, because there are allies of Wes Streeting who are pushing for a rapid contest because they want to close the window of opportunity for Andy Burnham to get back into Parliament. But Burnham allies are saying that that would be absolutely improper and would be regarded as stitch-up.
They would say that, wouldn't they?
Well, they would. Although the problem is that if it does become a shortened contest and Andy Burnham doesn't have time to do it, and Wes Streeting, let's say, becomes Prime Minister, there will be a big group of people in Parliament who are supporters of Andy Burnham who will just never accept him, because they will say it was a stitch-up. They'll say that their man was frozen out, and Andy Burnham will therefore always be there, like he is now with Keir Starmer, will always be regarded as that prince across the water for some left-wing MPs. And so if you think that the current situation is chaos, you ain't seen nothing yet.
It's unbelievable. But this is the extraordinary spectacle we just watched. As you quite rightly say, Jack, arguably we saw, there's a zombie king's speech, written by a zombie prime minister that might sort of be dead in the water by the weekend, as might be the prime minister. And we know yesterday, very unusually, the king let it be known he was not at all happy about being plunged into this chaos and used effectively as a political firebreak by the prime minister to at least get him off the hook, release the pressure for a bit, for at least one day. Tomorrow it might happen. Just quickly, Jack, the other extraordinary spectacle that we watched this morning as the King delivered this speech was, as we feared, all these policies. We will get closer to Europe, digital IDs. All of these policies are exactly what a massive majority of Brits voted against last Thursday. They voted against all of this stuff. They made it clear they didn't want it. They don't want to get closer to Europe. I'll bet you sun readers don't want to get closer to Europe, and I bet you they don't want digital IDs. And yet we have a Prime Minister who is foisting policies on an electorate that electorate has made very clear they do not want. Really bizarre.
Well, I mean, Jonathan Hinder, who's one of the Labour MPs in the Red Wall, he seems to be one of the only sane ones left, because he's just tweeted only this Prime Minister could respond to an absolute drubbing at the hands of Nigel Farage, the chief Brexiteer, and think that the answer at everybody's doorsteps, what voters are crying out for, is more Europe. I mean, it seems totally barking mad that you would try and combat the threat from reform by going after Europe even more. Now, the calculation, of course, is that they think that all of the voters they've lost to reform are totally unwinnable now, and there's no way they can lure them back. But maybe there's a way back for people they've lost to, the Greens and the Lib Dems. But no matter what you think about this, I don't think that anyone across the board is remotely interested in reopening old arguments about Brexit. I think people want the Prime Minister to get on with the cost of living crisis, with the immigration crisis, and sorting out crime in our streets. And I don't think that endless rows about Europe are in the interests of the country. And I don't think that was the message which people sent last Thursday.
Yeah, and he's clearly, doing the bidding of his left-wing backbench Labour MPs who effectively control him. So that speech, his policies are all to please them, because his future is in their hands. We have a government for a bunch of Labour left-wing backbenchers, not for the people, which is extraordinary. Before you go, Jack, can I get your take on the fact that Nigel Farage is now being officially investigated for that £5 million that the Bitcoin billionaire Christopher Harborn, who lives in Thailand, gave to him before he returned to politics? Farage's argument is, A, I wasn't in politics when I got this £5 million, and B, it is to fund the security that I require because the government or the state will not provide me with adequate protection. That's that's his argument. I wasn't in politics when I got that £5 million, and I need it for my own security and protection because the state does not provide me with that. But he is now officially under investigation. It's obviously being dismissed by Reform UK as an establishment stitch-up to undermine Mr Farage. Your take?
Well, I would make 2 points. I don't think this would do anything whatsoever to dissuade Nigel Farage's base from supporting him. Nigel Farage almost has that Donald Trump factor. Donald Trump famously said that he could stand up in the middle of Times Square, shoot 2 people, and he wouldn't lose a single vote. I think that is probably the same with Nigel Farage. Any manner of scandal wouldn't really dissuade the people who are already voting for him to not to do so. On a more technical level, listen, the Standards Committee and the Commissioner often actually can be sorry, 1 second, I was to reject that call. The Standards Commissioner does have the power to make life very difficult for MPs. And often it can be a technical finding against someone, which can then set in a chain of events, which really makes things difficult, whether that is opening them up, for example, to the prospect of a recall petition. Now, obviously, we're a long way away from that, and Reform is saying that they think this will clear their name. But down the line, a Standards Commissioner investigation can pose problems. So let's see what happens there.
Indeed. Jack, thank you very much for sparing us the time on what must be a hell of a busy day for you. Jack Elson there, the brilliant political editor of The Sun newspaper. When we come back after the break, Andy Preston, political commentator and former independent mayor of Middlesbrough, will join us. We're going to talk about the fact, a massive development this morning, that Keir Starmer, Labour, were rejected, if you like, by 11 trades unions, calling on the Prime Minister to go. This is Labour heartland. I think this represents working class support for Labour, for this Labour government and this Labour Prime Minister, disintegrating. 11 unions, that's massive. The unions are at the heart of Labour. You know, they fund Labour. So if the trade unions are rejecting this Prime Minister, calling for him to go, it means he's in even deeper trouble than he already was. We'll talk to Andy next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're going to go over to Andy Preston in just a second, but I want to remind you of a video we played at the beginning of the show. And it was of the King in his golden gilded carriage making his way to Parliament. Absolutely disgusting scenes as these pro-Palestine semi-human fanatics screamed their bile at the sovereign. Have a look at this.
What's the message to the King Charles?
those coppers, right? I mean, I can see they're having a hard time, to be fair to them, but from the river to the sea is against the law. It's a hate crime. Arrest them. Arrest those people. Otherwise, you know, what is the point? Well, let me know what you think about that scene, because I think that was repulsive, and you know they've got a right to believe what they believe, and I actually don't believe in banning pro-Palestine demonstrations or protests, because I believe in the right to demonstrate. But if they're going to be like that, then maybe I could have a rethink. Let me know what you think about that, though. What's happened to this country? That's the king. That's what's happening on the streets as he makes his way to the state opening of Parliament. What has become of this country? What has happened? 03444991000. Here's a voice note on that issue from Tristan.
I'm gonna be blunt. I'm absolutely disgusted. I don't favour the king. I don't agree with his politics. I think he's getting involved too much. Irrelevant of that. The way how he was greeted was absolutely disgusting and abhorrent. I can't believe what I just saw. I really cannot believe what... Seriously, this Palestine rubbish has to be banned. Seriously, it has to be banned. I don't understand why they march every single week. It feels like it's daily now. It's getting absolutely ridiculous.
Tristan, I think a lot of people share your fury about that. Let me know what you think, folks. 03444991000. Send me a text if you like to 03444991000. Write 87222 and put talk at the beginning of your message, or you can send us a voice note on the same number. I just think that's beyond the pale. I'm not against their right to protest, but if that is their idea of protest, that filthy fury, screaming, swearing at the king as he's just going to do his duty, his job. Come on. We're better than this, aren't we? 03444991000. Let's go over to my next guest, go back to the relatively calm world of politics. He is Andy Preston, political commentator, former independent mayor of Middlesbrough. Hi, Andy.
Hello, Kevin. Hi.
I'm good. Now, let's talk about the unions. Big, significant development this morning. And you're from an area, the north east, where, of course, the trade unions are a very important part of the cultural firmament, if you know what I mean. 11 trade unions this morning, in unison, called for the Prime Minister to go. 11 trades unions, including the big ones. Now, the Labour Party basically is the trade unions. The trade unions fund it. They're at the heart of the Labour Party movement, and they are calling for this Prime Minister to go. So if he's lost the support of the unions, that adds up to he's lost working class support, and it's another nail in his political coffin, isn't it?
It really is another nail in the coffin, Kevin. But I mean, look, he is a dead man walking, but this is like official. This is like a doctor coming in and signing the death certificate, because money matters in politics. You know, some people argue that it shouldn't, but it's money that pays for the campaigns, for getting your messages across, for trying to print leaflets and get them delivered and try and win the votes. The unions have bankrolled Labour historically. You know, they accounted for up to 50% of all of the party's income, Kevin. But recently that's fallen, and Starmer's played a role in that. Starmer has alienated himself from the unions by pushing harder to get business donations and private wealthy donations. So the union's influence has fallen from about 50% of all the money coming in to about a quarter. So there's one beef that they've got with him, first of all. But secondly, they just know that Starmer cannot win. Burnham is close to the unions. They might think that he has a chance, but they know that Starmer cannot win another general election.
So the unions that have objected to Keir Starmer's continuation include the massive unions, Unite, Unison, GMB. These are big outfits. And without their support, life becomes very, very difficult for a Labour leader.
Yeah. It does, Kevin. Listen, I mean, money is so important. Listen, whether you are Tories, Reform, Labour or whoever else, money is absolutely critical. You can run things on a shoestring, but if you really want to play in the big league, you need big money. Unions were Labour's source of big money, and look, they're basically saying we'll take our toys away, we'll take our money away unless you do what we want. And by the way, this is an issue not just for Labour with the unions. It's an issue for political parties around the world with billionaires having undue influence, as that story at the moment regards Reform and Farage and the £5 million gift before he became an MP, which rightly or wrongly, you know, who knows the rights and wrongs of that. Well, let's see what happens. But these people have undue influence over policy, and Labour have given the money over the years because Labour's been soft on what they wanted, what the unions wanted. So while this might be healthy in terms of what some people would perceive this as healthy, it's catastrophic for Starmer. And Kevin, when they said that he shouldn't lead it until the next election, what that really means is go now. Because if you are the big boss and everyone knows that you are about to leave or you're leaving soon, you lose authority. People stop listening to you. That's what happened to Tony Blair when he said, "Oh, I'll leave in the autumn." As soon as he said that, it was game over.
Yeah, good point. Now, here's the thing. These unions, it's not, I mean, of course, their financial contributions to the Labour Party are vital to the party. But also politically, they're vital to Labour, to the Labour government. And if Starmer goes, what the unions would like, I'm telling you this, Andy, they would like him to take that lunatic, crazy Ed Miliband with him. Now, you'll remember that the TUC General Secretary, Paul Nowak, he has roundly criticised Ed Miliband's nut zero mania, saying, you know, we need to keep the North Sea oil and gas fields open. We need traditional industry. You know, your green project is all very well, but it's costing my members, the TUC members, hundreds of thousands of jobs. So I think the TUC would like a different direction when it comes to this middle-class virtue-signalling claptrap surrounding net zero. That's the way they see it. So, all right for you, Ed, and all your mates in North London and your flash houses and your dinner parties, but those of us working-class people who have to have jobs, you're costing us our jobs. We're losing our jobs because of your green mania. There is a division between the TUC and Labour when it comes to this.
Well, historically, you know, Ed Miliband, I'm sure you remember, was very close with the unions. He was very tight, and that's how he triumphed over his brother to become Labour leader. It was his links, it was Ed's links with the unions rather than his brother David. So Ed had been very close to them, but as you've said, the unions is essentially grassroots, largely blue-collar representing organisations, as you've called it, nut zero, hasn't gone down as well with them as it has with the North London Labour members. And that's what's going on, isn't it? There's a bifurcation or a separation between the traditional Labour mindset and the Labour mindset that's there. And that's what's going on. Andy Burnham could possibly bring the two back together. The unions like him. He's close with them. All my info suggests that he would be their favourite, even over Angela Rayner and certainly over Wes Streeting, who isn't very close with the unions.
And they will demand backtracking on Crazy Ed's net zero project because it is costing hundreds of thousands of jobs. When you close down exploration in the North Sea, as he's done, you know, there are working class people who work in that, thousands of them. They will demand a change of direction. Interesting times. Andy, good to have you on the show as always. Andy Preston there, political commentator, former independent mayor of Middlesbrough. Yeah, as Andy was saying, the point about Ed Miliband in his previous incarnation when he was the useless failed leader, but he got that gig over his brother David Miliband by being close to the unions, proving how important the unions are in the Labour power game. If you don't have the support of the unions, you're nothing in the Labour Party. So if Starmer goes, I think the TUC would like him to take Ed Miliband with him. I think we all would. Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll get the view on this extraordinary day of Trevor Kavanagh, the brilliant veteran political columnist at The Sun. We'll talk to Trevor next. Stay tuned.
When you get the offer to be the voice of a sheep...
Yes, you can only dream, really.
Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser! Well, how much of Rip does your husband in real life have about him?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's a man. He's
Kirsty and Phil!
Can we talk about one other thing?
We can talk about loads of things. It's an interview.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go over to a man who's seen it all, but I think even he has been surprised by the events of the past few days. He is the brilliant political columnist, former political editor of The Sun, Trevor Kavanagh. Hello, Trevor.
Hi, Kevin.
First of all, I want to get your take on this. We've been playing this video, and I guess my question is, you've been around a few years, so have I, and I don't know what this country is coming to. This is the King in his gilded carriage, making his way to the state opening of Parliament this morning. Absolutely disgusting scenes. Watch this.
What's your message to the King Charles?
So my question, Trevor, as I say, like me, you've been around a few years. What's happened to this country?
Well, sadly, this is Starmer's Britain. And to be fair to Starmer, not just his. I mean, no wonder the King looked so miserable when he arrived at for his speech to Parliament, the joint houses today. It's a tragic commentary, isn't it, on this country and the way that certain people take advantage of our sacred free speech rules and simply turn them into expressions of venom.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, the law was being broken there. They were chanting from the river to the sea, which is a call for the annihilation of Israel and the murder of Jews. That is against the law. Now, I recognise the police had their hands full then, but I'd like to see some of these people who chant these illegal hate crimes arrested. You're never going to stop them unless they get arrested for it, but that's another issue. Well, Trevor, you wrote in The Sun today, how that we should feel sorry for the King. The King, quite clearly, and unprecedented yesterday, he let it be known that he didn't want to do this speech today, and that he approached 10 Downing Street and said, "You sure you want to go ahead with this, given the predicament of the Prime Minister and the chaos and the mess that you're all in?" They said, no, go ahead. The King apparently was very angry that was being used as effectively a political firebreak for the Prime Minister to give him a day off the pressure. But that's another reason why I think the King looks so fed up. I mean, he looked bored, he looked miserable. As I said in my monologue earlier in the show, he looked like a man who was reading the telephone directory. Perhaps the telephone directory might have been a bit more interesting than the content of that speech. But the King was exploited today, wasn't he?
Yes, and he will really resent that. I mean, he looked as if he was almost falling asleep. He was treating that speech with derision in a kingly way. In other words, he wasn't showing what he really thought, but he wasn't prepared to give it an ounce of spirit in the process of delivering it. And my government is, in fact, rudderless and leaderless, and nobody knows, in fact, whether his Prime Minister will actually deliver or be in a position to deliver any of those dozens of pointless promises. So he would be feeling that he'd been put up, and of course, Starmer would have known and would have used the fact that the King's speech was looming to try and head off the threat of challenges from his cabinet. And that's why the timing of all of the things that have happened over the last few days were deliberately designed to surround the King's speech.
And that's why the King was absolutely furious. A quick word from you, if you will, Trevor. I want to get to the psychodrama, the leadership challenge that may happen tomorrow. But first, just a few words on the content of that King's speech. There were the announcement of 3 bills which the British public voted against last Thursday. 3 things they definitely, or 2 things they definitely don't want. He announced that there will be an Act of Parliament to bring us closer to Brussels. Exactly, certainly what some readers don't want, what I think our audience don't want, what I think the entire country made it resoundingly clear it didn't want last Thursday. He's doubling down on this policy the people have rejected, and also he threw in, we're going to get digital ID after all. These are policies the people don't want. They voted against them all last Thursday. He's doubling down on them, and he's going to impose them on them because he's a zombie Prime Minister. He's not serving us anymore, is he? He's serving his left-wing backbench Labour MPs in whose hands his future lies.
He's doubling down, but he's also double-crossing the voters who in 2016 came out in record numbers, the biggest democratic vote in history, to decide that they didn't want any more to do with the European Union except as partners and allies of a sovereign state with a European Union. We are now a sovereign state. We can make our own decisions. We haven't made enough of those good decisions to make everyone aware that we're better off out. Although there are many reasons why we can say that we've become better off out. One of the things which demonstrably show that we should go even further away from the European Union is the fact that we can't control their deliberate exporting of illegal immigrants across the Channel. And that's where Keir Starmer's failed most. But the fact is, this is a man who is a political coward. If he really believed that we should be closer to the European Union, he should try and persuade the people, instead of going behind their backs and deceitfully using his majority to force a vote in Parliament.
Absolutely. Can we talking of political cowardice, let's talk about the alleged leadership challenge. We understand, we're told by West Streeting's allies that he will resign tomorrow and launch his challenge to Keir Starmer's stupefying leadership. A, do you expect that to happen? And B, if it does happen, Trevor, will that herald the opening of the floodgates? Will other contenders step in? Particularly, I would have thought, Ed Miliband. What's your take?
Well, I think a couple of things. First of all, yes, it will happen. It can't stop now because Streeting would look like a complete wimp. He would destroy any credibility or chances of leading the party in the future if he didn't seize the nettle now. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that he's got to get those 81 votes behind him from Labour MPs. And I think he will get them, but if he doesn't, or even if he does, it is possible that Starmer now will do what he should have done the other day and say, I'm now announcing a timetable for my departure, which perhaps will negate the need for an election and give plenty of time for Andy Burnham to get a seat, which of course isn't a given anyway. So those are the possibilities. But I think definitely Streeting will have to put his name forward tomorrow. I don't think that he's looked too well out of all this. He's looked a bit shabby, a bit shifty, and not all that impressive as a future leader of this nation.
Well, I think he's shown a yellow streak so far, but it looks like he may take the leap tomorrow. Now, given that might, as you say, it may precipitate the Prime Minister saying, all right, here's a timetable for my departure, I'll go after September or something like that. But if it doesn't, this will effectively have headed Andy Burnham off at the pass because he won't be able to get into Parliament in time. If that is the case, do you think that Ed Miliband might move? Because the left-wingers would prefer Miliband to Streeting, wouldn't they? What do you reckon?
Well, I think that this is what terrifies very large numbers of the Labour Party, who are among those who retain some sort of sanity and intelligence. Ed Miliband, sadly, has the support of a very large number of the rest of those MPs who are living in a world of their own. And he also has the support of members of the Labour Party at large, the ordinary grassroots members, who also have a vote in this. So it is perfectly possible, and indeed I think likely, that we will see a number of hats going into that ring, not just Ed Miliband, probably Angela Rayner, despite the shadow hanging over her tax issues. Probably people like Bridget Phillips and others, mostly on the left, I have to say.
Yeah.
Mostly people who would be bad news for this country in terms of how the markets would react.
It's all incredibly grim, Trevor, but great to get your update. Thank you very much. Trevor Kavanagh there. Next up, there is much still to come. Samara Gill will join me.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go through some of the big stories of the day. We're going to have a look at old Donald Trump in a little while. He's delivered another one of his blueprints for how he thinks Keir Starmer should be running the country. Every time the president says what ought to be done in this country, we all go, yeah, he's right. Please, can you come and run the Britain, Trump, because we have a bunch of numpties who couldn't run a bath. Now, in the studio, for the next 20 minutes or so, it is our brilliant reporter, talk reporter Samara Gill. Hi, Samara.
Hello.
Now, we've been talking a lot about the King being heckled today, and you were actually there, right?
Oh, I was there.
Well, we're playing this. I make no apologies for playing this again and again, because I think it's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. And how this country has come to this, I do not know. This is just wrong. You know, by all means, you know, you're perfectly entitled to be pro-Palestine, anti-Israel, all that. You know, the right to protest. I don't agree with you, but you got the right to. But this is taking things too far, isn't it? Watch this.
What's your message to the King Charles?
I always want to set up a rival group of protesters shouting, expensive Palestine. Why is it free? You know, put a price on it. You know, seriously. Now, you were there, though.
Yeah, how about free Palestine from Hamas? I mean, let's start with that. But anyway.
There's a thought. You were there, though. Yeah?
I was there. I actually got heckled by those very protesters. They were the most putrid of the bunch, because obviously they're there on a weekday when they probably should be at their jobs that they don't have.
They haven't got jobs.
And, you know, it's really interesting. One of them went up to me and he said, "Why do you always edit us to make us look bad?" And I'm like, I don't edit you.
Don't need to edit you.
And then they started heckling me. They started live streaming. I could see one of the very pleasant police officers actually trying to reason with them and just saying, hey, please, can you just be respectful of this? And they absolutely don't want to do it. And it just shows you how Gaza, that's got really nothing to do with the United Kingdom, has flooded onto our streets like a cesspit, and it's just, I don't know, it just left me with a very horrible feeling. I basically got marched away by them. They started with their phones going like this, live streaming into my face, which is fine, but it's just to go and do that to someone who's part of the press is just a little bit tawdry. I don't appreciate how they were.
They're trying to intimidate you.
Well, they screamed that while there was a beautiful orchestra playing beside us. There was a really nice procession going on, and they totally drowned it out with their horrible chants. It's like they just get away with too much, you know? They really do. They were moving around. It was meant to be a static protest. That's what they were allowed to do. They weren't respecting the police's orders. It just
Why don't the police arrest some of them? I mean, they're breaking.
I agree.
They're breaking the law. When you could hear them there, free from the river to the sea. When will Palestine be free? That's against the law. I could be arrested now, actually. No, seriously, that is against the law. That is a call for the annihilation of Israel and the murder of Jews. It is a prescribed chant. They're doing it there. Now, I can see the cops, to be fair, had their hands full, but unless we get to a point where the police start to arrest these people for these hate crime chants that they spew all the time and then lock the bastards up, we are in trouble.
Yeah, I think we are. I can think you could see the sort of pain in the police people's eyes because they want to do something about it. I know we're not on the police's side a lot of the time, but I spoke to a couple of the officers there, and they were honestly just absolutely appalled by the behaviour of the protesters. But weirdly, their hands are tied in this situation. There's not much they can do because this very small conglomerate of people has totally overtaken London streets, and it's like they're there at every scene. single event, Kev. It's like they're the unwashed and the unemployed.
There's a big pro-Palestine demo on Saturday, a sort of opposing demo to the Tommy Robinson demo, the Unite UK protest. So when that pro-Palestine protest unfolds, let's call on the police, make some arrests. Don't let them chant jihad and from the rivers to the sea. Get that message across. You do that, you end up in jail. That'll stop all of this because they're letting them get away with it.
I'm really interested to see the potential two-tier policing that will happen on Saturday. I mean, who knows? Because what's categorised as something really scary on the right side of politics to what the left is, I do feel like, and we've been banging on about it for a long time, Ken, but there is a two-tier policing that does go on. So I am hoping that those arrests are made to whoever hooligans kind of come out. But I think it's just when you go to those protests and you see that, I've been mobbed by people, I've been whacked on the head, no one's been arrested, no one takes any accountability, no one gets any accountability. Whereas I think on that protest, if anyone from the other side, the United Kingdom side, gets out of line, they're going to get arrested straight away, as they should be if they're acting completely debaucherous. But we might see a bit of two-tier policing. That's all I'm warning you about there.
Yeah, it's Saturday, I think, is the big day. Two opposing massive demos in London. The Unite the Kingdom demo, which is associated with Tommy Robinson, but he's not the only one. A lot of very legitimate people go to that protest, but also there's going to be a big pro-Palestine march. I guess the police will have to keep both factions apart, but at the pro-Palestine march, cops, if you are any cops out there, you hear anyone chanting jihad or holding up those posters, death to the IDF, arrest them. How about that? They're going to carry on unless you do. They've got to be policed properly, those demos, don't you think?
Our terror threat currently in the United Kingdom is, I'm pretty sure, the highest it can get, or one of the highest levels that it can be. We've had a terrorist attack against the Jewish people, alleged terrorist attack, just less than 2 weeks ago. We've had a litany of different issues there in terms of anti-Semitism. We are at boiling point here, and I agree with you. Now it's time. I mean, we're both libertarians. We do agree that, people should have the right to protest. People should be able to speak freely. But unfortunately, there is an incitement element now to what they've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, the libertarian in me does not want to ban pro-Palestine protests. But if they're going to be like this, if they're going to be full of law-breaking, and the cops aren't going to do anything about it, I wouldn't die on a hill if they did get banned, put it that way. Now, what do you make of the psychodrama, of the Starmer psychodrama? A fascinating PMQs today. West Streeting only latterly joining the front benches in the House of Commons. And we are hearing that West Streeting will resign and launch his challenge tomorrow. Before we get your take on that, it was an entertaining PMQs. Kemi Badenoch having the time of her life. She'll hate it when Starmer goes. But let's have a look at the Tory leader on fine form.
NHS England, something the Prime Minister announced 14 months ago. But then I suppose the Health Secretary has been a bit distracted lately, hasn't he? Hasn't he? He's chuntering now. Why don't you just do your job? Do your job. Even worse, Mr. Speaker, is what isn't in the gracious speech. There's no point in him giving me dirty looks. We all know what he's been up to. We'll know. Even worse, Mr. Speaker.
I tell you, she is getting good, isn't she? And by the way, when you know that someone like Kemi Badenoch has defeated the opposition in the Commons, with her rhetoric, you know when she's won, because there's this moment where they all start talking to each other animatedly, and then they go like this and things like that. But when they are reduced, as they were then, to this... They're just all sitting there with these sort of fixed Cheshire cat grins.
Yeah,
that means she just won.
Yeah, I mean,
that was brilliant, actually. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, but she also does have the easiest job in politics.
Yeah,
I mean,
she'll hate it when Starmer goes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's literally like they've served her a perfect volley and she's just been able to get it across the net easily, totally easily. I mean, come on, Kemi. I think it was a really good performance by her, but also she's got a lot to chew on there. I mean,
yeah, I love that. I love this. Said to Westbury, oh, he's chuntering away there. Do your job. Well, it looks as if to get back to Streeting, it looks as if he won't be doing his job for much longer. Word is he'll resign tomorrow and launch his official challenge to Starmer's stupefying leadership. And at that point, others may join the fray, potentially Ed Miliband, horror of horrors, and others. What do you reckon?
I think it's been really interesting for Streeting because, you know, obviously he's now at the centre of the sort of succession line chatter along Westminster. All I could hear when I was just sort of around there today was talk of him, Miliband and Starmer. Rayner's name didn't come up much, and neither did Burnham's. That's just the whispering of what's going on. But look, there was a brutal 16-minute showdown this morning. It lasted all of, about 16 minutes.
16 minutes.
He came out smirking. He gave a smile to the press pack, which was interesting, and then walked off, which was different from his sort of thundery glare that he gave yesterday as he walked out, because he wasn't granted a meeting with Starmer, which is what he wanted. Why he hasn't jumped so quickly is really because, I mean, there
He's
is
a coward,
that.
that's why.
No, I think there's that Westminster saying of he who wields the knife, he doesn't wear the crown.
Yeah.
And that is the problem there with leadership challenges. Usually the one that initiates it actually doesn't end up being the leader. But in this position, and it did happen to Thatcher, I was looking through my notes, it happened to Thatcher in 1975 where she did challenge and destroy one of her opponents, Ted Heath. It's quite interesting that there has been precedent for the challenger to actually win.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only reason that Wes has not come forward so far is he's got a yellow streak up his back, the 10 miles wide. But he's finally been brought to the point. They're always cowards, politicians. They're always cowards. But he's been brought to the point where he is going to move. And I reckon then, there's two things that could happen. This could happen tomorrow. If Streeting launches his move and he's got 81 supporters, because he can't lodge an official challenge unless he's got 81 MPs behind him. The word is he has. So if he does that, the potential is that the Prime Minister will resign and set out a timetable for his departure, which would allow Andy Burnham to get into Parliament in time for an election. But if Wes succeeds in trying to get the ball rolling right away, in other words, Burnham cannot get involved because he won't have time to get this seat that he needs, then I suspect, I fear, terrifyingly, Ed Miliband will throw his hat in the ring and Ed Miliband will win.
I think it's a very good theory. I mean, I think that unfortunately this Burnham fantasy politics is not the way the party should go, considering they're hemorrhaging Labour votes every single day. They're like bleeding out, like they've got some sort of skin issue. It's to use Kemi Badenoch's own turn of phrase that she used at the Dispatch box today. She said, you know, Keir Starmer is in office but not in power, and that's true. He is a walking dead man at this point, and he doesn't have any power that he can really cling on to here. So it's really just about who's actually going to have the gumption and the gusto, as you said, to pull the plug and say, no, I'm challenging you. I mean, this man loves a process. That's all he was banging on about yesterday. It's the process. It's the process. Yeah. It's like, yes, you human rights lawyer, that's all you want is a process to get you out.
So that's why he refused to discuss his own predicament at the cabinet meeting 2 days ago, because he said, we can't discuss the challenge to my leadership because there hasn't officially been one. The process has not been started.
Yes.
He's actually got a point. He's got
a point.
But he's obsessed with process.
Well, he's been able to spin this, and I think his obsession with process will be the thing that actually ends up removing him, because politicians really do, or good politicians, work on feeling. People with actual political prowess do that, and I think at least Wes is working towards the actual feeling of the public. The issue with Wes is that I think he would be popular with the Labour voter, but not with the
MPs,
not with the MPs, and not with Labour Party members. So yeah, I think
I've just also got this idea. I mean, Andy Burnham, to be honest with you, he's strutting around. I'm the king of the north. You know, he's turning into a comedy figure. There's this great drama unfolding. Oh, Streetington will resign. Maybe Ed Miliband will come in. Bridget Phillips, and maybe. Meanwhile, you know, Andy Burnham's getting off trains, getting on buses. Hello, I'm here. I'm here. Yeah, mate. Yeah, but you're not at the races, are you?
Well, he's doing everything but actually doing an interview to the media. Every single headline I read, Andy Burnham's just dropped out of a conference he was meant to go to in London. Andy Burnham was meant to go and open this tomorrow, and he's not going anymore. It's like he's actually shying away from the public and waiting far too much in the shadows, and he's getting forgotten about. And again, I mean, to state the blaring obvious, if there was a by-election, there is no such thing as a safe Labour seat in this country anymore.
Well, what could happen with old comedy figure Burnham is this. He could quit the mayoralty he could quit as Manchester mayor, find himself an alleged safe seat. As you say, there's no such thing as a safe Labour seat here these days. He could then Manchester lose the subsequent election, the resultant mayoral election so that goes to Reform UK. Then he doesn't get voted in the safe seat, and we'll see you on the dole queue, Andy.
That's actually the most likely option, because
I really hope that happens, because he's so entitled about this.
Massively.
He's strutting around as if he's some sort of political colossus.
He really is.
You go up to the north, king of the north. Well, they don't like their king very much. He's not that popular up north. And when he was in government, he was in Gordon Brown's cabinet, he was the health secretary. He's absolutely crap.
Yeah, exactly.
He was useless. He's useless. And a lot of people say he hasn't been much cop in Manchester either. So I don't know why we're crowning this guy as if he's the colossus we need, because he isn't. Before you go, I've got to ask you about this Nigel Farage situation. He is now being officially investigated by the Parliamentary Standards Office for this £5 million gift he was given by the Thailand-based Bitcoin billionaire Christopher Harborne before he came back into Parliament. Now, at the time, when he received this £5 million, Nigel Farage's case is, I don't have to talk to Parliament about this. I was not an MP then. I wasn't in Parliament. There is a case saying that if you received any substantial gift or donation within a year of entering Parliament, then it is relevant. But he will say it isn't. And also, he says, well, look, the reason Mr. Harborne gave me £5 million is so that I can pay for the security and protection that I need, because the state won't provide me with that, even though he is probably the most vulnerable target politically out there.
He's a huge target, and I do really feel for him, because the government actually isn't funding a lot of his security. I believe they cut back 75% of his security at one point, and that was actually shortly after the death of Charlie Kirk. So I think he needs this money for his security. I don't think he's actually just saying that. The investigation, I mean, they're looking for anything to pin this guy. I think it's not a good look. It's not a good look. It's like, who is paying for you, Farage? Like, what's going on here? I can understand the questions around it.
Yeah, but you know, obviously Reform UK and its supporters are saying this is an establishment stitch-up to undermine Nigel Farage, just as he's on the up after last week's local elections, the triumph of Reform UK there. But I had Jack Elson on, the Sun's political editor, earlier, and he said, Yeah, it's almost certainly that. It is almost certainly an establishment bid to undermine Farage.
Totally.
But Jack went on to say, but I got bad news. It ain't going to work.
Yeah.
It won't affect Farage.
It didn't puncture his results in the slightest in the general election. The anti-Semitism claims against Zach Polanski really did hurt the Greens, and now you can see where people kind of care about things. I think there's also an air of, in this country, people keep getting penalised for money-related issues, and I think Trump, Farage, Freudian slip there, does represent a more aspirational version of Britain. But look, I mean, we had Laura Ferrari, his partner, in studio over the weekend. She was on with Alex Phillips. They discussed the firebombing that happened to his house that then led to the donation afterwards, or at least that's what's being said. You know, I've had one time when I was reporting, Farage took me aside for a private conversation, and his security had to be, I mean, he really does have insane security. They have to be around. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, he needs to be that protected. They were basically waiting there within a metre of us, because I'm such a dangerous individual to talk to.
That security was especially for you. It's all right, lads, she's gone now. You can go for a pint.
Exactly. But I mean, when you do see the way that he's unprotected by the government and that he needs private protection, you can understand why this is a thing. And he says that this $5 million will cover him for the rest of his life.
So I don't think it'll touch him, but let me know what you think. Should Nigel Farage be investigated for this £5 million? What do you think about him receiving that? 03444991000. Big thanks to Samara Gill. When we come back, Donald Trump says that Keir Starmer, among his other many mistakes, is, and I quite love this, windmilling the UK to death. He's given another one of his diatribes about exactly what Keir Starmer is doing wrong, and as always we sit there nodding, going, exactly right, Mr. President. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
You've got to love Donald Trump. He's always ready with advice for our Prime Minister. Usually it's damn good advice, usually on climate issues. Let's introduce my next guest, and we'll watch Donald's latest diatribe against Keir Starmer. Welcome to the show, Campaigns Director at Net Zero Watch, Maurice Cousins. Hi, Maurice.
Good afternoon.
Now, this is the President yesterday. Love this.
Keir Starmer, sir, he seems to be on the brink.
Well, my advice to him has always been open up your oil in the North Sea. You got one of the great oil finds anywhere in the world, and you're not using it. They're not allowed to use it. And it's one of the best in the world, among the best oils in the world. Open up your oil in the North Sea and get tough on immigration.
Should he stay or go?
Europe is being very, very hurt by immigration all over Europe.
Should he stay or go?
That's up to him. But I've told him from day one, you're getting killed on energy. You're windmilling your country to death. Open up the North Sea. You have one of the greatest sources of energy in the world. Open up the North Sea.
The pressure is from Nigel Farage, sir.
Maurice, he's right, isn't he? I love that expression that Keir Starmer and indeed Crazy Ed Miliband, the Net Zero Secretary, are windmilling the UK to death. They are, aren't they?
They are. I mean, Donald Trump, Keir Starmer really should be listening to Donald Trump for political advice. I mean, if you actually look at what is driving our politics at the moment, the cost of living is the number one issue, and it has been basically since the election. And the number one driver of that is energy. And, you know, Donald Trump is absolutely right to say that windmills and our mad policies on North Sea oil and gas are making our energy more expensive, and it's pushing up the cost of living. So yeah, he is right.
And I mean, it's so frustrating, isn't it, that, you know, as Donald Trump just said, we have one of the greatest sources of oil and gas on the entire face of the planet in the North Sea, and this mad little man Ed Miliband won't let us touch it, which is crazy. Meanwhile, Norway is touching it, drilling and extracting oil and gas and then selling it to us, even though we ban ourselves from doing the drilling and extracting that we could do if we wanted to. And the other thing is, so we know that if we went in big time back into the North Sea, then our energy prices would start to plummet. Our sky-high energy prices, by the way, highest in the modern world, in the Western world. And we also know if we started to frack, we have enormous supplies of shale gas under Great Britain, particularly in Lincolnshire, apparently the biggest in Europe or something. If we started to frack, our energy prices would soon be a fraction of what they are now. I believe America's energy bills are something like 5 times less than us, and they frack and they drill, baby, drill, but we won't do it. It's so frustrating.
It's incredibly frustrating, and you know the reason this is happening is because it's ideology that's driving it. It's Ed Miliband and his zealous drive to create a net zero economy by 2050 and a clean power system that he says will deliver us energy security and lower bills, none of which are true, by the way. You know, it's all entirely self-imposed, and it's really important that your listeners, understand this and start to put pressure on MPs in making this point, that this is a self-inflicted wound that we are doing to ourselves. You're 100% correct. You know, we have more than enough oil and gas to meet our domestic needs for decades to come, when you factor in both onshore and offshore resources. If only we could get government out of the way and enable that, it would have a significant impact on our security and our economy. But Donald Trump is also right to highlight the mad nature of wind energy. There is a misconception out there that because the wind and the sun is somehow free, that means that to harness that energy, that somehow that will mean that our energy bills will come down. What a lot of people tend to often ignore is that the kit that is required to harness that energy is itself very, very expensive. And another problem with the wind and the sun is it's unreliable. You don't know when it's going to blow. You don't know when the sun is going to shine. And so as a result of that, you need lots of backup in the form of hydrocarbons in order to be able to meet demand when the wind and the sun is not blowing. And that's incredibly expensive to be able to do that.
And the joke is, of course, there's not enough wind, not enough sun usually. But sometimes the windmills and the solar panel farms produce too much energy, and the government gives them vast amounts of money to not supply us, to shut down. But Ed Miliband also, he sells his policies on a lie, and the lie is this: we must use windmills and solar panels, renewables, because if we don't, we'll be in hock to foreign countries. We'll have to buy in energy from abroad. Well, the reason we have to buy in energy from abroad is because he won't let us exploit our own internal resources, as we were just discussing, the North Sea, fracking, etc. And also because that means we have to buy from abroad, because he won't let us use our domestic resources. So he says, wind and sun will release us from our foreign obligations. Well, actually, sun and wind are what makes us have to buy energy from abroad.
You're right to say that. It's important to remember that only about 20% of our energy usage comes from electricity, right? So the overwhelming majority of our energy needs comes from hydrocarbons, right? About 75-80% of our needs comes from that. So we are still going to require, by the way, hydrocarbons well into the 2050s. That's not from me. That is the Climate Change Committee that has said that. And by making it really difficult and deterring investment and banning things, all you are doing is increasing our demand for imports. And there's something that's happened today, Kevin, which I'm not sure if you and your listeners are aware of. But in the King's speech, one of the pieces of legislation that was announced today, the so-called Orwellian-named Energy Independence Bill, is going to make it unlawful for ministers. It's going to make it unlawful for ministers to issue new oil and gas licenses in the North Sea.
Oh, God. So that was a crafty clause they slipped in there, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, they've used some classic Orwellian newspeak, calling it the Energy Independence Bill, but a little bit of a sneaky bit in that is to say that they are going to honour the Labour Party's manifesto not to issue new oil and gas licenses by putting it into law. So they will have a legal excuse not to be able to do anything to reduce our dependence on foreign oil and gas. It's criminal.
That is, I didn't notice that. That's something. As I suppose what I was inarticulately trying to say the other day, Ed Miliband, just a few minutes ago, Ed Miliband says that windmills and solar panels will give us energy independence. The truth is exactly the reverse.
Yes, it is. Up means down, and war means peace. It's just, none of these things make any sense. It's unfortunately we've got to put up with it for at least another 3 years. But hopefully after the next election, we'll get a proper government in that knows how to fix the energy system.
Well, maybe not, Morris. You never know. I mean, the way it's going there at Downing Street in Parliament at the moment, it might all fall apart at the seams in the next couple of days, and we'll be going to the polls next week, but that's just me wishfully thinking. Morris, great to have you on the show, as always. The brilliant Morris Cousins there, Campaign Director at Net Zero Watch. Breaking news, folks, breaking news. This is good. Sir Keir Starmer has made clear to allies that he will stand and fight if West Streeting succeeds in triggering a leadership contest. The Prime Minister has spent the afternoon meeting ministers and Labour MPs in Parliament as he attempts to see off a potential leadership challenge. Also, breaking news, folks. Andy Burnham allies claim the Manchester Mayor is poised for a dramatic political comeback, and an MP is ready to step aside for him as soon as tomorrow. Get on with it, Burnham. You've been saying that for about a week. Get on with it. Put up or shut up. As for Keir Starmer, he will fight West Streeting if he challenges, or anyone else. As a matter of fact, he doesn't have any choice. If West Streeting has the 81 required MPs backing him, declares a challenge on the leadership, Starmer has to fight. He can't just sit there and ignore it. But same deal for any other challenges. But Prime Minister still making it clear he has no intention of resigning or walking out. Why not? Why don't you just go? Give us a break, for God's sake. We're going to go back to Nigel Farage next and have a deep dive into this £5 million controversy. That next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's do some voice notes. This is Laura on the King.
I mean, these appalling Palestinian pro-Palestine protesters today shouting at the King. I mean, this has got to stop. If nothing else tells us that this government is out of time and out of reach, it's this. And I'm really hoping the King, who, you know, he's a good man, but he lives in a bubble. I'm really hoping that this might make him think, blimey, the Jews that I love really are under the cosh with this. And I'm hoping it might be a turning point. I doubt it, but I can only hope.
Laura, that's excellent. And I think, you know, the code for what you're seeing with those disgusting scenes, these people are Jew haters, they're anti-Semites. They are trapped in some kind of hysteria, but it's a very, very disturbing sight. Here's another voice note. This again is Mark on the King.
I am absolutely disgusted with that pro-Palestine marches, seeing the King come up. What's this stupid bloody government doing? When you see the likes of people like that, when they're saying they're going to ban from the river to the sea, they're going to arrest people, that anti-Semitism remarks, and yet it's plain for everyone to see that it's happening. And what does the coppers do? Absolutely nothing. It's about time this government had a bit of a backbone, got off their backside and followed through for what they said they were going to do.
Quite right, Mike. I mean, they've got to be punished, these people. You know, from the river to the sea, that what you're looking at, that was anti-Semitic. You know, this was Jew hatred, kill all Jews, annihilate Israel. Take that land away from them. That's what those fanatics, those maniacs were screaming with their screwed up little nasty faces. Horrible, horrible thing to see. By all means protest, but don't do it like that, for God's sake. Right, let's go back to the Nigel Farage issue and let's talk to journalist and broadcaster Robert Taylor. Hi, Robert.
Hello, Kevin.
Now, Nigel Farage, he is now officially under investigation. This story's been bobbing around for about a week. That before he came back into politics, you remember that there was that period where he said, I've had it, I've done my bit. I'm not going to stand to be an MP. I'm going to maybe fade off into a happy retirement or go and work for Donald Trump or something like that. Well, suddenly he changed his mind, he went back in. Now, what we have learnt in the last week or so is that in that period when he said he wasn't going to go back into politics, Christopher Harborne, a tech Bitcoin billionaire who lives in Thailand, gave him £5 million. Ostensibly, or we're told, this was to pay for Farage's protection and security, because the state, wrongly in my view, does not provide him with very much at all. He is arguably the biggest target in British politics. If Angela Rayner gets around-the-clock bodyguards and a official ministerial car to protect her, why does Nigel Farage basically get nothing? Anyway, so this was... The story goes, this was Harborne saying, I understand you're worried about your own personal safety. Here's £5 million. That can cover the cost of your security. And if you see Farage now, everywhere he goes, he's surrounded by heavies protecting him, looking out for his security. This was before he was an MP, but he is now, we learned today, being investigated by the Parliamentary Standards Office for accepting this gift. Now, they will argue, we understand, that this gift came less than a year before he did come back into politics, so that, the Parliamentary Standards Office says, falls within their remit. I think Farage is making it clear, hey, I wasn't in politics, I wasn't an MP, it's none of your business. And I think he's got a point. Either way, this is clearly an establishment stitch-up to undermine Farage as he goes from strength to strength at the polls. But I don't think it'll work. I think Nigel Farage has become almost Teflon when it comes to criticism. He is being buoyed and moved along by this absolute groundswell of support. I don't think this attempt to undermine Nigel Farage will work. What do you reckon?
Well, just to go right to the end of the story, I agree with you, Kevin. I don't think it'll work. I think he's going to either be vindicated in this sort of parliamentary hearing, because it's a very grey area, this one. I think it could quite easily be that he will actually win. But even if he doesn't, even if he's somehow sanctioned and has to then be suspended, worst case, fight another by-election in Clacton-on-Sea, who do we think's going to win that by-election? It's going to be Nigel Farage. There's no way the people of Clacton-on-Sea, I mean, I obviously can't speak for them, but just looking at it from my vantage point, they're going to send him straight back into the
I know those people, Robert. My parents used to live in that area. I know the people of Clacton. Not only will Nigel Farage get voted back in, he'll get voted back in by a landslide.
There you go. There you go. So,
but surely they won't do a recall on this, will they?
Well, it's a grey area. So the rules say that people must register all their current financial interests received in the 12 months before their election. Now, Farage, and I understand his lawyers have gone through this with a fine-tooth comb, and they're saying it was definitely a gift. It's not a donation. Therefore, it didn't need to be registered. But what I would say is £5 million. I mean, that's a heck of a lot of money, Kevin. Even if you're Farage, that's a heck of a lot of money. Surely it would have been better to declare it anyway and then fend off all this shenanigans, because these things always get out. They always get leaked.
Yeah, I'm thinking, this is just purely my version of events, my speculation, that when Farage said, I've had it, I'm not getting back into the political fray, into the bear pit. Harborne, big Reform UK supporter, big supporter of Nigel Farage, might have said to him, suppose I offered you £5 million. What would you think about that?
Well, it's very possible, isn't it? Apparently, it was a gift with no strings attached, says Nigel Farage. But yeah, I mean, it's £5 million. It's quite an inducement, isn't it, to go back into the game that you're really happy with. The point is, surely a sensible man, a man who knows his politics, and for God's sake, Farage knows his politics, would have said it's better to declare this than risk it coming out as a sort of fishy-smelling scandal.
I think probably it would have been. However, I don't think Reform supporters will give a damn. And, I do think there's a very serious, strong argument surrounding Nigel Farage's security. It is an absolute disgrace that the state does not provide him with adequate security. In fact, they cut it back. This is the most vulnerable, the biggest target in British politics, including the Prime Minister. He really, really is. And the state should be paying for his protection. And since the state doesn't pay for his protection, can you actually blame him taking a few £1 million to pay for it?
Absolutely not. I would take it. I think he was right to take the gift. He's right to use it for his own security. I mean, I'm sure you've heard people say, let's assume they're saying it in jest, Kevin, but I've heard people say, why doesn't someone bump Farage off, or I wish someone would take a pot shot at it. Maybe they're saying it in jest, but you just need one person to be serious, and we know we have had MPs who have been murdered just in the last few years. Well, it could certainly happen to Farage as well. He needs his security. I reckon that £5 million would be well spent on security. But my point remains, Kevin, I think he should have just declared it anyway.
It probably would have been for the best. But as we said at the beginning of this conversation, I don't think it's going to touch him. I think he's very Teflon at the moment in terms of his support around the country. I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it, that in his lousy, feeble, quotes, reset, close quotes, speech on Monday, Starmer, of course, launched an attack on Nigel Farage. What a ridiculous thing to do. Last Thursday, millions and millions of Brits actually voted foursquare for Nigel Farage. So when Starmer attacks Farage, he attacks all the people who votes for him. You don't attack the electorate. That's what the Prime Minister did.
Yeah, and I mean, the establishment, and my goodness, you can't get a more copper-bottom member of the establishment than Keir Starmer. Never mind, his father was a toolmaker. He's absolutely an establishment. Now, they are terrified of Farage becoming Prime Minister. They don't care how many millions of people voted last Thursday for reform, or however many more millions might vote in 2029 or before to elect Farage Prime Minister. They're going to do everything in their power to prevent that happening, democratic or not. And this, sending Farage to the committee to explain himself, is just one sign of that establishment determination.
It is, but I don't think it will work. Quick word from you, Robert, on the psychodrama consuming Westminster at the moment. We are hearing, hang on, I've got some breaking news for you. Reports, according to the Independent newspaper, Wes Streeting was due to be on the media round tomorrow to discuss his NHS data, but has been pulled. So he's not on the media round, fueling the increasing speculation that he will resign tomorrow and launch his leadership challenge on the assumption, presumably, that he has got the 81 supporters in the House of Commons that he needs, the 81 MPs. At that point, if he does do that tomorrow, Robert, the word is the floodgates will open, that Miliband might come in, Bridget Phillipson could become a free-for-all. The Prime Minister, about 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, breaking news, then made it clear that he will stand and fight. So he's not going anywhere, but by tomorrow, he might not have one challenger, he might have about 5.
Bring it on, Kevin. I mean, we are just desperate for this finally to happen. Please, Wes, throw your hat into the ring. Let's get rid of this dreadful Prime Minister. Whoever Labour brings on, whether it be Angela, Wes, Andy, Ed, they cannot be worse than our current Prime Minister. So I thoroughly welcome this, and I hope Wes is successful.
They cannot be worse. Yeah, you wait. I bet they can. But I take your point, Robert. Good to talk to you, as always. Thanks for coming on. Robert Taylor there, journalist and broadcaster. Do you agree with Robert? Do you think that all of these potential contenders who may throw their hats in the ring tomorrow, we're talking about Wes Streeting, of course, we're talking about Ed Miliband, Angela Rayner, Bridget Phillipson, maybe even Shabana Mahmood, of course Andy Burnham hanging around outside like the man who couldn't get into a party, into a nightclub. Any of those? Do you think that none of them could be worse than Starmer? Or do you think some of them could be, or all of them could be? 03444 991 1000. Next up, we'll do Sunsport with Jake Sanders. That next.
Breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain?
Yeah.
Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, Jake Sanders, sports news editor at The Sun, is in the studio. Jake, it's the big one tonight, Man City versus Crystal Palace. If City don't win, they can forget it.
Yeah, basically they've got to win to keep it alive. All these games are massive at the moment, and if they don't win, Arsenal can seal it on Monday. So all they can do, like they did against Brentford on Saturday, is just keep putting the pressure on Arsenal and see what they've got in return. So you'd expect City against probably a weakened Palace team with their European final coming up in the next few weeks to get the job done, but you never know at this stage of the season.
And Arsenal have got Burnley on
Monday night, already relegated Burnley, so Arsenal will
they should win that.
Should definitely win that, and then if City win their games, it will go to the last day. So, but all City can do tonight is just keep it going.
So if City don't win,
City don't win,
this part of the season,
I know,
all maths, isn't it? So if City say they get a draw, that's not enough.
draw or defeat is the same. If they don't win, Arsenal win against Burnley on Monday, it's over.
That's it. So if City don't win tonight, Arsenal have won the title.
Basically, yes.
Okay. Interesting times, folks. Well, let's move on. Man United, they're in the Champions League, aren't they? They've done very well under temporary manager Michael Carrick. They are now, we're told, ready to open talks with Carrick about becoming the permanent manager. I mean, do they need talks?
Yeah, well, I guess potentially not, but because, you know, if they're opening talks with him, surely you'd imagine it's a done deal, because they've already been impressed with him. He's coming after Amarin. He's done a great job. I think he's only lost 2 Premier League games since he came in January. He's beaten everyone. He's beaten Man United. He's beaten Man City. He's beaten Tottenham, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle. So he's done a fine job, and yeah.
Who else is in the frame?
Well, Glasner's been mentioned in recent weeks. Iraola's been mentioned, but it seems like they're going to go down the same route as they went with Solskjaer, with an interim impressing, doing a good job, and then keep.
How did that work out for them?
Well, he did actually do quite a good job at the start. He got them second and third. He got them to quite a few finals. Just couldn't get them over the line. So time will tell whether Carrick can do that.
And is he a good tactician, do you think?
Well, United's performances have been quite indifferent recently. He was good at the start. He beat Arsenal and City, and their results have generally been good, but they've not been performing as well.
Yeah, I think the trouble with ex-players, you know, the sort of passion people.
Well, he's got credit in the bank, hasn't he?
That's what they do. You know, come on, lads, let's get out there and win. But
that works for a brief amount of time. But whether that can be the difference between getting Man United over the line in a Premier League title race and in a longer term vision, maybe not.
I mean, but Man United, I mean, they might as well go for it. They've got nothing to lose, haven't they?
Yeah, and as I say, he's got credit in the bank. He's got a good relationship with fans. He's a legend at the club.
Yeah.
And the owners clearly like him. And maybe they look out there and think there's no one else better out there. There's not exactly a pool of top managers currently available.
He's had a great phase as the manager,
he's done brilliant.
As temporary manager, so why not? You know, give it a go. Right, let's talk about cricket. I don't think I've done cricket yet since I've been doing this show. England named the squad for the first test of the summer against New Zealand next month. What's going on?
Yeah, so it's the first time England are going to play in Test cricket since the Ashes thumping in the winter. The two big stories: Ollie Robinson's back after 2 years. There's 3 uncapped players: Emilio Gay, James Rew and Sonny Baker, and perhaps the biggest other line is Zach Crawley's been dropped for the first time in 4 years. He didn't do great in the Ashes. He's come back for Kent and he's not done well, and he's played in every Test match under the McCullum and Stokes sort of era, so he's finally been dropped for his bad form.
I mean, what are we looking like generally, cricket-wise? I mean, is this a decent squad? You can never quite tell.
Well, as I say, they're going through a bit of change. There's 3 uncapped players in there, and, you know, Crawley's been dropped. So it's difficult to tell. We've not played Test cricket which will be approaching 5 months by the time the first Test gets underway. So it's slightly unknown. You've still got the likes of Root and Stokes, but, you know, England are still suffering without, you know, losing Anderson and Broad in recent years, so they're yet to replace them. So it's sort of this new era of players coming through.
So this new 3, Gay, Rew and Baker, what are they, bowlers or
I don't know loads about them. I know that Gay is replacing Crawley, and I believe that Baker is a pace bowler. So Emilio Gay is going to replace Crawley in the first Test and is expected to play. But there's a 15-man squad, so 4 won't play. So it's you know, unsure who's actually going to play.
I've got a prediction. I think Emilio Gay is going to get a lot of coverage, because that is a good name for headlines, isn't it? Thank you very much, Jake Sanders there from The Sun. All of those great stories in the back pages of the nation's favourite newspaper tomorrow. That's in The Sun. Now, next up, we're going to return to the psychodrama in Westminster. Will he, won't he quit? Will they challenge? Will West Streeting challenge? Will Ed Miliband come in? Will Andy Burnham ever get anywhere near a seat in Parliament? All of that next with Simon Danczuk, former Labour MP. So stay tuned. Much still to come. Back in a mo.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
In a little while, I'm going to be taking your calls. Lots to talk about, obviously. 03444991000. I want your verdict on what we saw as the King was making his way to the state opening of Parliament in his gilded carriage. And there were these pro-Palestine fanatics there, their little faces screwed up in rage, swearing, shouting from the river to the sea, all those illegal hate crime chants. What does that country come to? I'll play you that in a minute, but if you've been watching the show, you'll have seen it already. But it is a low point, I think, for this country. 03444991000. Also, I want your take on what's going on in Westminster. Yeah. Do you think, would you like Westminster to be the Prime Minister? He's going to mount a challenge tomorrow, apparently. He's going to resign, so at least we might get a better health secretary, I suppose. He will claim that he's done a fantastic job. No, he hasn't. What's his name the other day, Starmer? Writing lists are down. No, they're not. You've cooked the books a bit to make it look like that. Migration is done. No, it isn't. And so on and so forth. Let's welcome to the show my next guest to go through some of the big stories today. Former Labour MP, now Reform UK, Simon Danczak. Welcome, Simon.
Good to be with you, Kevin.
It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I want to show you later on this revolting demonstration protest as the King made his way to Parliament today. We'll get to that in a little while. But as a veteran of the House of Commons, I think you would have especially enjoyed PMQ's, Prime Minister's Questions today. Kemi was on excellent form, I have to say. Mind you, she had a lot of material to work with today. If she couldn't make a success of today, then she might as well get out of the business. But first of all, this isn't actually in PMQ's, but in the debate afterwards, after the King's speech, this is Starmer having a little go at his big rival West Streeting.
Mr. Speaker, the gracious speech was brilliantly proposed by my honourable friend, the member for Bradford West. Yeah. Members across the House will have read her remarkable new book. Her list of endorsements is truly impressive, reaching well over 100 members. At last, Mr. Speaker, a list that we can all get behind. And Mr. Speaker.
Did you see those eyebrows there going up and down? He's having fun. This is funnier, I think. This is Kemi Badenoch, Simon, responding to the Prime Minister. It's good stuff. Watch this.
Scrapping NHS England, something the Prime Minister announced 14 months ago. But then I suppose the Health Secretary has been a bit distracted lately, hasn't he? Yeah, hasn't he? Yeah. He's chuntering now. Why don't you just do your job? Do your job. Even worse, Mr. Speaker, is what isn't in the gracious speech. There's no point in him giving me dirty looks. We all know what he's been up to.
Well, she won that one. I was saying earlier, Simon, you can tell it's like the sort of 5 stages of grief. When a leader of the opposition is doing well during PMQs, you'll see the front benches. First, they'll be waving and shouting and pretending to talk to each other. If it ends up that they're just sitting there like this, that means she's won. And that's how that ended up. All of them were completely shut up, sitting there smiling like the Cheshire Cat as she tore them to pieces. This government, I mean, it's just a shambles. And as I say, it's a gift for the Leader of the Opposition, isn't it?
It really is, and great pantomime in the Commons chamber there, no doubt about it, and Streeting getting it in the neck a little bit from both sides, I have to say. But But the seriousness of the situation is that whilst this pantomime is continuing, the country is going to rack and ruin, isn't it? All the focus in government isn't on improving the economy, which was supposed to be their number one priority. It isn't about the war in Iran or the troubles in Ukraine. It isn't about building up defences for Britain. It isn't about tackling illegal immigration. It's all about who's going to take over from Starmer. All that wasted energy and time when we should have a decent Prime Minister. And the sooner they get over that hurdle of replacing him, the better Britain will be. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, we need to get past this psychodrama. But as a seasoned observer and once a participant in the Westminster pantomime, what's your take on what's going on? Do you think that, as we're being told, West Streeting, the Health Secretary, will resign tomorrow and launch his official challenge to Starmer's dreadful leadership? And if he does so, I mean, he can only do that if he's got the numbers, if he's got 81 MPs behind him. Let's assume he does have that, although that's a big assumption. But let's assume he does. He then resigns. Would you predict that that would open the floodgates? Maybe Ed Miliband would come in, maybe others, Bridget Phillipson, Shabana Mahmood, you never know. Could it be the case, Simon, that by this time tomorrow, Keir Starmer might have 3, 4, maybe even 5 official challenges for his leadership?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting situation, what's going on. I suspect that Streeting didn't want to be the one that wields the axe, you know, the one that initiated the campaign against the competition against Starmer. But he's found himself in exactly that position, hasn't he? And he can't avoid it. He either has to put up or shut up tomorrow. One would assume that he has got the numbers. There's only about 80 odd that have come out so far, and that's from across the Parliamentary Labour Party. So they're not all Streeting supporters, and they've come out against Starmer, but they're not all Streeting supporters. One would assume that some of Streeting's supporters have held back over the last 24, 48 hours and not come out yet. Jess Phillips, the Home Office Minister, resigned. She's very close to Streeting. So they've been doing some damage to Starmer. There's no doubt about that. I suspect that they held off today because it was the King's speech.
Yeah.
And Streeting didn't want to, you know, to affect that in any way. But if I were a betting man, I would say Streeting will come out tomorrow, challenging the Prime Minister. He will have the numbers, and then we're into a competition, and then it gets serious. And as you say, there's talk of Ed Miliband now throwing his hat in the ring. Angela Rayner isn't ready. She's still got her tax problems over her. Burnham isn't anywhere near. He hasn't even got a seat in Parliament. The other dark horse in all of this is Alistair Kearns.
Yeah, good point about it. He's the Defence Minister, right? Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Former soldier.
Yeah.
And he's got a big piece in the Labour Bible, the New Statesman, this week, laying out his vision for the future, rather like a wannabe leader, I would suggest.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think you're reading that exactly as it is. And it's quite instructive that that piece in the New Statesman doesn't mention that Al Kearns wrote, doesn't mention Keir Starmer once in any of it. And that tells us something. I think he may well put his hat in the ring. The interesting thing is he's a newcomer to Parliament. He's only just come into Parliament in 2024, but he's got a very good pedigree in terms of the armed forces. He speaks human, which is more than Starmer does, and so even if he doesn't win it, it'll be putting a marker down for future years, and it'll probably be one to get high office at some stage.
In the sort of musical chairs machinery of the Labour Party in Parliament, let me put to you another scenario, and that is that Andy Burnham's fate, if all we're talking about does happen tomorrow, Andy Burnham's fate is actually in the hands of the Prime Minister. Because what the Prime Minister could do tomorrow is that, so what I'm saying is that if Starmer fancies Burnham taking over from him, it is in his hands. Because what the Prime Minister could do tomorrow to stave all of this off, he could resign and set out a timetable for his departure. So he could say, I understand all the opposition, it's time for me to go. I will lay out a timetable, I will stay in power until September when a new contender can take over. In other words, allowing Burnham time to get this safe seat we keep being promised that he's got. By the way, his people, they issue that statement every single bloody day. Oh, he's got the safe seat. Yeah, it'll be there in a couple of weeks. Yeah. Well, how about you tell us what that safe seat is? But he will need time. So if the Prime Minister resigned tomorrow and said, I've got this timetable, that will allow Burnham time to get into Parliament, hopefully in his mind, and then challenge for the leadership. But if Keir Starmer tomorrow says, no, I've been challenged by it, I'm going to fight, let's go. I'm going to fight these people for the leadership. By the way, he just said that. This was breaking news about half an hour ago. Starmer has made clear to allies that he will stand and fight if West Streeting succeeds in triggering a leadership contest. So he could say, right, let's have a fight now. That would mean Burnham won't even be at the races. He won't be in the House of Commons. So it's Burnham's fate in Starmer's hands, isn't it?
Oh, it really is, and that's what makes this interesting. There's so many different scenarios, aren't there? And it does depend on Starmer. Does he resign and say, I'll go by September, and there's a long campaign, gives Andy Burnham a chance to come in? Or, as he says, if Streeting challenges him, he will fight him immediately. On Burnham, I mean, he really does have an high opinion of himself, doesn't he? I'm the saviour, I'm going to come, give me time to get down there and get in there. I'll resign the mayoralty of Greater Manchester as though it's just a sop that he's been taken care of for a few years while Jeremy Corbyn was in charge of the party. I mean, it's quite insulting, really. I tell you this, and not many people saying it, I think the seat that he would go for is Jeff Smith MP's seat, Withington. So you hear this here first, Kevin.
Withington.
Let's see if this is it. Jeff Smith in Withington, and I could imagine him standing aside.
Is Jeff Smith getting on a bit? Is he?
No, he isn't. That's the interesting thing. He's very close to Lucy Powell. He doesn't have a very high profile, but I could imagine him standing to one side to let Burnham come in. And Withington, he's got about a 13,000 majority there. There's no safe Labour seats left after these local elections, but I think he would have a good chance in Withington. That's just my calculated guess as to where he might go, so that's worth watching. But it's all open. Everything's to play for. Is it a short campaign, West Streeting, Ed Miliband throwing his hat in the ring, and perhaps Starmer, Al Kearns, or is it a long game up to September? You've got Burnham in there.
Yeah, and of course, if Burnham's game does play out the way he wants it, the potential is he quits as Manchester Mayor, Reform UK win the mayoral election. He goes to Withington or St Helens or wherever the hell the alleged seat that he believes he can win. And I'll tell you, British people, it doesn't matter how partisan they are, they hate being taken for granted. So he will effectively breeze in, like the King of the North, saying, you must all now vote for me. And if I know British people, they'll say, well, we'll show you, mate. They do not like being told what to do. So the potential is he quits the Manchester Mayor as Manchester Mayor, and then Labour lose that election, and then he does not win the by-election he'd need to get into Parliament. The cruel man inside of me hopes that that's what will happen, but let's wait and see. It's all very intriguing stuff. Now, I want to get your take on this. We've been playing this all day, Simon, and I guess the question after you've seen this is, what has happened to this country? How did we get to this? This is the King in his golden carriage, gilded carriage, on his way to the state opening of Parliament to deliver that dreary, depressing King's speech. By the way, didn't the King look bored? He looked angry and bored because he didn't want to be there. He'd suggested that they postponed it under the circumstances. I think he made his feelings plain in that speech. Could he have injected less enthusiasm into it? I don't think so. But here he is making his way to Parliament to do his duty as the King. And this is what happened.
to the King Charles.
So, my question, Simon, is this: what has happened to our country? How did we get to this? That's just disgusting, isn't it?
It is disgusting, and I'm all in favour of free speech and the ability to protest. I've been on protest myself over the years on various issues, but I think we need to keep that sort of thing just further back. You could see how close it was to the procession. I mean, it doesn't have to be like that. We could keep them well. It wouldn't happen in very many other countries, I have to say, where protesters, such ugly, violent protesters, were so close to the monarch and to the procession in that way. Just keep them well away. They can protest somewhere else by all means, and they can shout and scream as much as they want, but they really shouldn't be that close to the procession. And it's a significant occasion in our, parliamentary calendar.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, when people go on protest, they're very passionate about the causes that they're demonstrating about. You expect a certain amount of emotion, but these people, I mean, they are gripped. They are in the depths of some kind of hysterical mania here. It's like there's something wrong with them. What do you think is going on?
Oh, and there's a really serious point to it. I know the Middle East quite well. I've been out to the West Bank, to Jerusalem on a couple of occasions, and these people shouting "to the river, to the sea" is exceptionally provocative. What it means is that they want to wipe Israel off the map. I mean, let's be completely...
It's illegal. It's an illegal phrase.
Exactly, and they should be arrested. And we've seen in recent weeks where this leads. By allowing this, it enables others to be even more extreme, and that's a consequence of these hate marches, these hate protests. By not clamping down on things like those statements, people feel emboldened. The pro-Palestine campaign, the extremists, the Islamic extremists feel emboldened to the point where they're actually attacking the Jewish community physically, and that's a major problem. I think the policing of this stuff has to get much stronger. I
agree with you. How many more times do we all have to say, look, arrest these people? They're breaking the law. You can't chant jihad. You can't chant from the river to the sea, death to the IDF. It's all illegal. Yeah. And yet coppers, time and time again, like, look, to be fair to the coppers there, they had their hands full. I don't want to criticise them because I wasn't there. But, we have to get to the point where coppers are arresting these people and say, you just broke the law. By the way, you're going to jail. That would stop them screaming these illegal chants.
Absolutely, and the police can be very good at this. I've seen it over many years as a member of Parliament and somebody who observes these things. They can be very effective in terms of turning up with the right police, with the right equipment, and showcasing some arrests, justifiably showcasing some arrests, putting some people through the courts for these sorts of crimes to send a clear message out. And that's what I don't know why it doesn't get done. It genuinely puzzles me as to why the Met Police don't take a stronger line on this stuff, because we've seen what the consequences are.
Yeah, and the trouble with the Met Police in particular, but police forces around the country, is they tend to be a lot harsher on right-wing demonstrators, what Keir Starmer will call far right. So you've got two dueling protests in London on Saturday. One is the Unite the Kingdom rally where the right-wingers join up. Tommy Robinson is a part of it, but shouldn't be misconstrued as a Tommy Robinson event. People of all right-wing colours descend on that. Also, same day, you got the pro-Palestine, big pro-Palestine protests. So the police will, of course, keep both demonstrations separate, but usually the cops come down much harder on the right-wing protesters than they do on the pro-Palestine protesters. And I guess we kind of demand an end to that two-tier policing, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you something, my time as a Member of Parliament, one of the biggest things that surprised me was learning how political the higher echelons of certain police forces are. They really take a lead from politicians. They have their own political agenda. And I don't say this lightly. I'm not talking about frontline officers. I'm talking about those that are leading various constabularies. They really take a lead from politicians, and that's what I believe is being taken now. You've got Sadiq Khan, who has responsibility for policing in London, and so the Chief Constable will often take a lead from the kind of politician that they're answerable to. And that's why I think we have got, as you quite rightly describe it, a two-tier system in terms of policing. It's very unfair.
I totally agree. Simon, great to have you on the show as always. That's Simon Danzik, former Labour MP, now Reform UK. Next up, I can hardly believe I'm saying this, but so we're going to talk about the Eurovision Song Contest. It has got a serious side to it. This is a serious news story. Israel, good for them. Their singer, Noam Betam, I think his name is, he won the semi-finals last night and got through to the finals against more of this furious screaming and jeering from pro-Palestine fanatics. This was in Austria. He's got through, and I hope Israel win now, because there's no point in saying, oh, I hope England will win, because we'll come last, like we always do. Yeah, serious story. We'll talk to Jewish journalist Nicole Lambert next about that, so stay tuned.
Some breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a talk exclusive we've been looking at. I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain? Yeah. Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about Eurovision. Let's go over to journalist Nicole Lambert. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, Kevin. How you doing?
Had to happen. Former Daily Mail showbiz editor gets interviewed by former Daily Mirror showbiz editor. So we're in our comfort zone, aren't we?
Yeah.
But no, but seriously, there is a serious side to this. So Noam Betan, the Israeli contestant last night, braved a sort of groundswell of booing and furious protests from pro-Palestine supporters throughout his performance. He sang a song called Michelle. Despite that, it's in Austria, by the way. Despite that, Noam got through. He will be in the finals. Introducing the BBC's coverage, Ryland Clark, the host, the presenter, to his credit, he started off by mentioning the 5 countries that have withdrawn because of Israel's participation. He said, ironically, wasn't expecting it. So he actually had the guts to actually set the scene, mentioning the withdrawals, and then this poor guy, Noam Betan, has to brave all these pro-Palestine fanatics. Several were ejected from the auditorium. I mean, it's just so depressing, isn't it? Something like Eurovision. First of all, these 5 countries that removed themselves: Spain, Ireland, the Netherlands, Slovenia and Iceland, not taking part in the Eurovision Song Contest because Israel is. Please do me a favour. And then this poor guy, Noam the singer, having to brave all these pro-Palestine people trying to heckle and ruin his performance. Good for him. He got through. And don't forget, last year, Israel came second, not because of the judges, because the judges gave nil point to Israel. None of them gave any points at all to Israel, but the fans, the viewers around Europe and around all the countries that participate, they gave Israel so many votes they came second. I hope this year, because of those pro-Palestine people and those stupid countries that have removed themselves in protest against Israel, I hope Israel win this year. I bet you do too, don't you?
I do. I mean, obviously, I want Britain to do well too, but I prefer the Israeli song. Our song is once again disappointing and strange. But I think that people are voting for Israel because of this bullying. Just as you said, they don't like seeing bullying. They want their song contest back. They want it to be a happy place where people can park politics to the side, just listen to some wacky music, marvel at the kind of mad idiosyncrasies of European music, look at all the costumes, laugh at the terrible lyrics and terrible singing. And for the 3rd year in a row, that's not going to happen because, once again, it's being politicised. And the great irony is that some of these countries like Spain and Ireland, their public gave Israel 12 points last year. So even in those countries, they're not on the side of their broadcasters. In Ireland, they're not even going to show the Eurovision. And it's a big thing in Ireland. They've won it 7 times, I think. So, and instead they're going to put Father Ted on, and its creator has accused them of anti-Semitism for not even showing it.
Yeah, Graham Linehan won't be pleased about that, but I suppose they could do that if they want. But yeah, I mean, what do they think they're playing at? Spain, Ireland, Netherlands, Slovenia and Iceland declining to take part as a protest against Israel and Gaza. I mean, that's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, what do they think they're achieving?
Yeah, and also the fact is that there's been a ceasefire now for 7 months. I think 7 months since October, and it's. Does this mean that basically they don't want Israel allowed in at all? Because if it's about Gaza, then why is that still continuing? And is it just because this is part of a bigger boycott campaign to try and boycott the only Jewish state? And it's part of the kind of BDS movement, which is trying to, for years, for decades, it's tried to stop artists from performing in Israel and attacked anyone that does. And it's part of that. And of course, that does feel anti-Semitic because there are many countries in the world that do stuff that you may not agree with, including in Europe. But there's only one country that they want to attack in this way, non-stop, and that's Israel. And as I said, it's the war is over, but still this has got worse in many ways, now that 5 of them are actually boycotting the competition.
Yeah, it's so sort of nasty and it's so inappropriate. It's Eurovision, for God's sake. But I did think it was inspiring last year because all these judges, these virtue signalling judges, all of them gave Israel no points at all, nil point. And but the public voted for Israel in their droves to the extent that Israel went from no points at all to second. They very nearly won, just bipped to the post by Australia. So the public, the viewing public around Europe, do not share this antipathy towards Israel that the actual official judges of these countries do.
Well, exactly. And so, like, some of them talk about it being politicising this. If these countries weren't trying to attack Israel or the Israeli contestant, or also appallingly attacking, for example, our own British contestant for even daring to go on the show, if there wasn't this obvious bullying, then probably Israel wouldn't do as well. But what we're really seeing is, and often we Jews, we hope that they're out there, the kind of the silent majority. And I think that what we see on Eurovision night, bizarrely, is the silent majority saying, we are against this bullying, we think it's wrong, and it shouldn't be going on. And until people stop with this bullying, then people will continue to vote for Israel in their droves.
Exactly right. And I'm not being unpatriotic when I say I want Israel to win, because A, I don't care about the Eurovision Song Contest, and B, it's a guarantee that Britain or England will come last. We always do. And with this song this year, I think we'll do even worse than last. So it all begs the question, Nicole, how come is it on Saturday night I find myself in line to go to a Eurovision party? I can't stand Eurovision, but I'm going to have to endure it. But I will
make sure everyone votes.
But I will, and I'm rooting for Israel. I really am. It'd be fantastic if they won. That would show all these halo polishers exactly where to go, wouldn't it? Good luck on Saturday. Great to have you on the show as always, Nicole. Thank you very much. Nicole Lampert there, journalist. As I say, I used to be the showbiz editor of the Daily Mirror, and Nicole was the showbiz editor of the Daily Mail in another life. So times change, I guess. But good to talk to her about our safe subject. Right, breaking news here, folks. This is the Telegraph reporting. Loads of breaking news at the moment, isn't there? Love it. West Streeting, as we know, is expected. This is the Telegraph reporting. West Streeting is expected to resign from government tomorrow morning, triggering a leadership contest. And this is the point, folks. It is also expected that Ed Miliband will throw his hat into the ring shortly afterwards. Now that is a massive development. I think what that indicates is the chances are that there won't be this delay in the actual final replacement of Keir Starmer that Andy Burnham wants. There won't be a delay. There may be an immediate leadership battle. Keir Starmer's saying he's going to fight it. If he does fight it, I think he could probably beat West Streeting, but I don't think he'll beat Ed Miliband. So I'll see you at the airport. Where shall we all move to? Prime Minister Ed Miliband. I mean, where are you going to emigrate to? I'm going to go to the Arctic, the Falklands. I don't know. Let me know. Where will you emigrate to if Ed Miliband becomes our Prime Minister? Could happen within a week. Oh my God. 0344 499 1000. That's the fact, folks. If Miliband enters the race and the leadership challenge happens soon, which it probably will, Streeting won't win it. Starmer probably won't win it. Miliband will, because all those left-wing backbenchers, they absolutely love Miliband. Miliband is the most popular cabinet minister in all the Labour Party, which proves that the Labour Party's got serious problems. Unbelievable. Crazy Ed Miliband could soon be our Prime Minister. What do you think about that? 0344 499 1000. Let me know. Taking your calls after the break, all the way to 7 o'clock when Peter Cardwell will take over the helm of the Good Ship Talk. All that still to come. Stay where you are.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I was just booking my air tickets. I'm emigrating to the Antarctic because I think it'd be a nicer place to live than if Ed Miliband is running this country, and I'm not joking. It's looking like he might be very soon, if you ask me. Here's what's going on. Just to reiterate the breaking news I delivered just before we went to break. West Streeting is expected to resign from the government tomorrow morning. That much we already knew. And that will trigger a leadership contest. So on that basis, we assume that West has got the 81 MPs he needs to back his leadership challenge. Otherwise, you technically can't do it. So he's got 81 MPs, and here comes the grave, terrible, foreboding news. It is also expected that Ed Miliband will throw his hat in the ring shortly after. Sir Keir's allies insist he will not resign, but will battle his former allies to remain in Downing Street. I don't think that's what will happen. I reckon he may technically fight the fight, but who knows? He'll lose to Miliband. Starmer's very close to Miliband. Starmer's the only man in the entire country who looks up to Ed Miliband. He actually admires Ed Miliband. So I think Starmer might say, right, I'll step aside, you take over, and then you can make me Foreign Secretary so I can still never hear Keir and get on aeroplanes and go to foreign countries. He loves all that crap, doesn't he? So there you have it, mate. That's my scenario. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Ian in London. Hello, Ian.
Hello, Kev. Kev, two things very, very quickly. In answer to Miliband, how can you elect a leader of the Labour Party that's already lost an election?
Well, you can. Well, you might say, like while Andy Burnham's strutting around pointlessly, I'm the king of the north, I'm a colossus in politics. No, he's not. He was a pathetic health secretary under Gordon Brown, real disaster, and hasn't really done anything else apart from that. Apart from being the mayor of Manchester, he says he's wildly successful up there. A lot of people in Manchester would not agree. He hasn't really achieved very much. So Burnham, no. Miliband, it's very possible he could get it, because I've got a feeling that quietly Starmer knows he's finished. So he will want his man in position. That'll be Ed Miliband. I reckon Starmer might say to Ed, listen, you mount your challenge. I won't put up much of a fight. And then when you're Prime Minister, make me Foreign Secretary.
Anyway, can I go on to my second point, which is really, I love you. I bless you. I love you dearly. I really do.
Thank you.
Right. My second point, which is the point I phoned about, is Mark Rowley.
Yeah, you're talking about the King's, the protest. Yeah, go on.
Mark Rowley got his knighthood for being head of the counter-terrorism department in the police, that he was fantastic at his job. So if he was fantastic at his job, he knew damn well that there were going to be demonstrations singing what they were singing. So why weren't the police told, clamp down on it, get it done, get it sorted? They just didn't want to know. Because there is no way they go, when they do all these planning of all these special events, they get all the policemen in initially, and they said to the watch commanders, and then the next level down, they say to each constable, no, this has got to be stopped. Correct?
Yeah.
They must do.
Yeah,
right?
No, it's Mark Rowley, he needs to get his act together. He needs to raise his game. These people who shout to the river, from the river to the sea, death to the IDF, jihad and all of that, arrest them. It's against the law. These protests, that deranged protest we saw this morning while the King was going to Parliament, they're just full of people who are breaking the law, who are committing hate crimes. I'm not a fan of hate crimes, actually, but they exist and they should be enforced. The police should enforce hate crimes. They should arrest these people shouting from the river to the sea, say that's against the law, you're in court, you're going to jail. Then they'd shut the hell up, wouldn't they?
That's right, but I can't understand. If I told you I saw a number plate, not yesterday, day before, jihad,
Yeah, really?
Car. Yeah.
Gee,
now, how has that not been pulled over?
Exactly right. The police have got to start enforcing the law. As I say, I don't want to ban pro-Palestine marches because I believe in the right to protest. I'm a libertarian like that. But if the police are not going to enforce the law, if they're going to let all these maniacs just scream illegal chants and slogans, then we'll have to ban them altogether. But the police should do their damn job.
What would happen if they were actually singing out, "Kill the police, kill the coppers, kill the coppers"? That wouldn't be allowed.
Well, it probably would, actually, Ian. They'd probably say, oh, well, we decided not to get involved to keep the peace. That's always their story. Never mind keeping the peace, coppers. How about you enforce the law? By the way, I don't want to get into criticising those coppers this morning because I wasn't there and it looked like they really had their hands full. So I'm not necessarily saying they should have arrested people this morning because it looked as if perhaps they just couldn't manage to do that. I don't know, but that would be unfair to criticise those coppers. But generally, start arresting pro-Palestine hate crime breakers, law breakers, as simple as that. Ian, good call, mate. Thank you very much. That's Ian in London. Got loads of messages coming out about where people would move to. Nikki, she says her sister lives in Michigan. She would rather go there and join her, even though she has Donald Trump, so Nikki doesn't like Donald Trump. But Angie, I'm off to the States to find Elon Musk and get a one-way ticket to any planet he chooses. I'd rather spend the rest of my life in an endless void than be ruled by Eddie. I think that goes for all of us, Angie. This is... no name on this, that's a shame. But it does say, hi Kev, I have enough money, I'm going to Norway, a rich country, because we buy our oil from them, from our own reserves. I like this one. Keith says, let's all emigrate to Diego Garcia on the Chagos Islands. That's a really good idea. Brian says, on Miliband, I will emigrate to Alcatraz prison because I might have more freedom there. Here's loads of people planning, like me, to leave the country if Ed gets in. This is Margaret. She says, I'd leave on a jet plane and go to Denver, Colorado and see the Rocky Mountains. She's a John Denver fan. They're lovely, Margaret. You go and do that. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Barry in Norwich. Hi, Barry.
Hello, Chad. How are you?
Yeah, hello, mate. Yeah, what would you like to say?
Yeah, mate, a quick comment on Starmer. I think he's going to stay. And do you know how I think he's going to stay?
How?
I think he's going to use the new Renters' Rights Bill. And I think he's going to be there for at least 4 months.
What?
Yeah.
So they can't get him out due to the new rent laws.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. But actually, what do you think will happen? Like, I tell you, literally, this is the biggest breaking news that I have broken in the last couple of days. And I've broken a lot of stories. It is the fact that we know that we're pretty certain that Wes Streeting will quit as Health Secretary and launch his official challenge against the Prime Minister. But the Telegraph is now reporting that it is expected that Ed Miliband will throw his hat into the ring shortly afterwards. And you know what that means, Barry? That could well mean that fairly soon Ed Miliband will be the Prime Minister of this benighted country. Doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
Well, I'm already living under a Green Council, so, you know...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, of course, you're in Norwich, aren't you? Yeah.
But anyway, I just like to make a comment on the King. I'm not a monarchist, right? But I do have some sympathy for the King today.
He didn't deserve... He doesn't... I've got my problems with the King as well. I don't like his net zero green claptrap.
No.
But he's a bit of a Lib Dem. But he doesn't deserve that. He's just a guy doing his job, doing his duty. Leave him alone, for God's sake.
But having that King's speech today, I mean, what was the point of it?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
I mean, you know, you had to feel sorry for him, didn't you, King Charles? I mean, he's sitting there reading out about his government. I mean, the speech is written by Starmer.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what the King has to do. Yeah. But he made it clear he didn't want to be there, didn't he?
I would turn up. Honestly, really, I just felt, like, what is the point?
Well, it was an absurd ritual, but it was all to give Keir Starmer a political firebreak, give him a break, take the pressure off him for a single day, which it sort of did. But it looks like hostilities, Barry, will be resumed tomorrow. I expect you to tune into my show and other shows, because it's going to be another one of those days. Big day tomorrow. Barry, brilliant to talk to you. Thank you for an excellent call. Sorry about your Green Council. That's Barry in Green-controlled Norwich. Let's go to break. When we come back, more of your calls. I'll try and read any more messages. Perhaps we've got some more countries where people want to move to. I'm off to the Antarctic. I like Keith's idea, Diego Garcia. Where will you go?
Some breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
Something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
This is a talk exclusive. We've been looking at... I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain? Yeah. Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Peter Caldwell will be in just a little while to let you know what he's got lined up for your entertainment from 7 o'clock until 10 p.m. But in the meantime, let's go back to the phones. Just having a look if I've got any more destinations for people. Here's another quick text. If Millipede wins, we're screwed. We'll have to read books by candlelight. There will be no electricity to run our TVs. You're right about that. Steve Chandler says, I'll go and live in Chernobyl. He says it's less toxic and safer than London, where I am now. Mark says, I'm off to Guantanamo Bay. If Miliband gets the gig, at least I won't see or hear him there. Nice. That's Mark in Selby. Well, I'm going to the Antarctic. Got a good suggestion to go to Diego Garcia in the Chagos Islands. Another person, someone said that they'll go to Alcatraz prison in San Francisco because they'll have more freedom there than they will under Ed Miliband. I think the headline on this is people do not want Ed Miliband to be the Prime Minister. Let's talk to Herbie in Harrow. Herbie, do you fancy Prime Minister Ed Miliband?
Oh, do me a favour, Kevin, for Christ's sake. Oh, where are you coming from, man?
It's serious, though, Herbie. It's serious. The Telegraph has just broken that Ed Miliband may well throw his hat into the ring tomorrow. Now, I don't think West Streeting can beat Starmer, but I do think Ed Miliband can.
Yeah, but then he needs to throw his hat back out again, doesn't he? I mean, so I'm off to the moon if he gets in. That's the best place to be, I think. I won't hear any of them.
But, I mean, it is serious. I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say that, you know, this time next week, we might well have Prime Minister Miliband, and that doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
Oh, Kevin, for God's sake, can you imagine? Look, you know, the King's speech today, you could see the poor old chap really was very uncomfortable. And to highlight all those promises that he wants to do, back to the EU again, let's have this idea that nobody wants. Everything he said is out of control, out of order. Let's nationalise steel. Nobody can afford to buy this damn stuff. It'd be too expensive to produce.
Well,
he's completely lost it.
The King's speech was like a sort of Alice through the looking glass speech. Basically, last Thursday, you get this resounding rejection of Keir Starmer, Labour government, Labour's policies, massive landslide against all of that. We don't like your policies, we don't like you, we don't like your government, we don't want to get closer to Europe. We hate digital ID. What does he come up with? Oh, well, we're going to introduce a bill, a parliamentary bill, an act of Parliament to get us closer to the EU. And guess what? There'll be another act of Parliament to impose digital ID on us. Good, isn't it?
Oh, Kevin, the thing is, the man's doing it deliberately to wind us up and to make us even more angry and hate him even more than we already do. I mean, to say, where is the man's intelligence to know that everything he's saying is wrong? We don't know. We don't want this, what he's promising us. He can't deliver anything.
But he's not, Herbie, you know this. He is not talking to us. He's talking to the handful of far left Labour backbenchers who control him. If he doesn't get their support, he loses his job. He may well lose his job anyway, but he has to have their support. So that speech the King made so unenthusiastically, God, he looked fed up, didn't he? That was not directed at you, me and the British people. It was directed at those left-wing Labour backbenchers in whose hands the Prime Minister's future lies.
Yes, this is the fact. Kevin, doesn't the man see that what happened last Thursday was a landslide and history in the making of exactly what people are saying about his government and his policies? You know where you can stick them, where the sun don't shine.
But it's such a bizarre trap to be caught in that, you know, the British public in their millions voted against everything Keir Starmer does, all of his policies. They don't want to betray Brexit. They don't want to get closer to Europe. They want something done about the migrant crisis. He's not going to do anything. And they don't want digital ID. But he's not talking to us, Herbie. He's talking to those backbenchers who control him. It's so depressing. I hope he goes, frankly. But not if he's replaced by Ed Miliband. Herbie, got to go. Good to talk to you, though, as always. Herbie in Harrow. Let's talk to Andrew in Hertfordshire. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, Top Boy. Cracking show.
Thank you.
Look, let's be grown-ups here. What we saw when you spoke earlier about those people protesting before the King got into Parliament, that is Starmer's responsibility. The recognition of Palestine, the pandering, just like you said, to the left wing. The way the left wing have run down the police forces and been nasty and vindictive to police officers who are just doing their jobs. There's not enough of them. The demonstrators know that, and they are running us ragged. And that anti-Semitism that he did rid it from the Labour Party.
Well, he not all of it. I mean, he did a reasonable job. It's still there. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, that's the point I mean. He put in place a process to deal with people because he's a process person, but it's still riddled with it, and that is the problem. He put in place a process. He's a manager, not a leader.
That's all he ever does, isn't it? I'll put in place a process. That's the beginning and end of his story. Well, let's hope a process is in place to get rid of him. Andrew, good points, very good points. Thank you very much for ringing. Andrew in Hertfordshire there. Peter Cardwell's in the studio. Well, this is big, I think, Pete. West Streeting, we know, is expected to resign tomorrow morning, triggering this leadership contest. On that, we assume he's got the 81 MPs he needs to throw his hat into the ring. But the Telegraph is now reporting that Ed Miliband is expected to step into the fray. Now, if that happens, Ed wins.
I think he probably does. It's also a matter of whether Starmer fights on. His allies say he will, but will there be a three-way contest between Miliband, West Streeting and Keir Starmer?
And let me put this